Let me set the ball rolling with an official welcome to today's conference. It is Design Thinking Ghana Conference, and our theme for this year's conference is Designing Experiences in Web 3.0 Environment, a Design Thinking Perspective. I mean, just to help us get a picture of what we want to talk about, I want us all to take our mind through human history, how human beings have found ways to live and dominate the environment within which they live and how they interact with what kind of resources they share, who controls what, and who has access to what. So you see that in our physical environment, and you just switch on to the virtual environment in which we live, we see an almost parallel development. Interestingly, things are very different in the virtual world. How do we ensure that whatever we do in the virtual world, we take into consideration our human experiences and human environment? This is the crux of what we'll be talking about today. And to help us get a better perspective of this topic, we have our guest speakers online here with us. I'm going to introduce them. First on the list, we have Mr. Dario Bianchi. He is the Chief Digital Officer of MTN Ghana. Dario is an executive with more than 15 years experience in marketing and digital transformation across multiple countries in Europe, Central America, and Africa. He is passionate about driving digital products and projects towards digital transformation. He has led teams to develop new digital products, e-commerce solutions, and content partnerships, while at the same time moved organizations to an agile way of working. He is going to be giving us the keynote address for this morning's conference. Shall we welcome him? You can e-clap with the what do you call it? Is it emoji sign? Yes, you can e-clap for us to welcome him. Then next week, our next keynote speaker is Shelly Inze. She is Director, Portico Change and Strategy Limited. Shelly is a management consultant and a technology entrepreneur with a background in law, banking, and risk. Shelly is owner of a best-selling trademark brand on Amazon, which services 6 European markets, including the United Kingdom, France, and Italy. She is also the founder of Web 3.0 Africa, which connects and educates people and organizations about Web3 and the metaverse. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have our keynote speakers who will be helping us through this morning's topic. Let me quickly also acknowledge my colleague, Kofi Jemfi, who will be helping us guide this conference to its very ultimate destination. Kofi will introduce the other key leaders in Design Thinking Ghana.
Great, thank you everyone. And for those in the room, I think we have just a few people in the room, just about 12 now. And so we're going to have more of a family meeting. So we want to invite you as well as we try to engage the people online so we can also engage ourselves here, right? And so just a quick one, we have the Design Thinking Ghana team here. Eugene will be moderating, myself as well, co-moderating with Eugene. We have Matthew, who is also our coordinator. We have Mary at the back there, our project associate, and then Rosina. And so this is the Design Thinking Conference team and Design Thinking Ghana employees as well. And so what we are seeking to do today, I'll just take us a little bit on a journey on design thinking, just so people in the room are fully aware, you know, where we are coming from, what we're seeking to do with these conferences, and so you can properly connect. But then before that, I'd like to share quickly on the breakout room, our facilitators here who have a lot of expertise in Web 3.0. And so Frank is going to be our facilitator for all things human centricity, user centricity, and empathy. And so just because Frank is here, I won't read his bio, I'll just hand him over the mic and Frank will do us the honors. Just a quick intro.
All right, thanks. Thanks a lot, Kofi. So my name is Frank Quadio. I've been in the web development space for a long time, for 8+ years. And more recently, I got into Web3. I was into crypto before that, but I separate cryptocurrencies and Web3 usually in my approach. But in there, I worked as a web designer. I worked with various companies in various industries to help them to shift from their offline to the online world, digital transformation mostly. And right now I'm mostly working into Web3 with communities in order to develop them and also just learn myself. Yeah, so that's what I've been involved with. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Frank. Okay, we can set off. So I'll just have us go through, what the journey has been like for all of us as design thinking. And let me share my screen and then we can go through. Right, so welcome again, everyone, particularly the on-site participants. Just so we have, I want to understand how well you know design thinking. Ghana, how many conferences do you think we've had so far? Oh, you guys can see the screen. Okay, let's hold on. Okay, so people on the line can see my slides, but not those in the room. But we're trying to fix that. But just a sense, how many conferences do you think we've had so far? Design thinking Ghana Hub. So let's just have a conversation. How many conferences have we had? People on the call, you can put it in the chat. We're going to see that. Shelly says 2. Okay. People in the room, how many conferences do you think we've had? Yeah. You had an idea. 1. We just had 1, right? This is this one. Okay, fair. Any ideas? How many conferences do you think we've had? Design thinking Ghana? 3. Okay. That'll probably make it. Okay, that's fair. Anyone? You think 3? Okay. Last one. Yeah, 4. Okay. Maybe last one. Someone on the call. How many conferences do you think we've had so far? Okay, we have 2 from Shelly. Teresa says 4. Ellie says 3. Hamed says 2. And then Masilo says 4. We have Benny saying 4. Aiken saying 4. All right, I think all of you did a good job, but you are super wrong. This is our 6th conference. Yes, so we've been at this since, I wish I could share my screen so you can see what's happening. Okay, I think since a family meeting, I'll just turn it, right? So let's improvise. That's good. Okay, so we've had 6 conferences and we started Design Thinking Ghana Hub. Actually, we started having proper engagement since 2015, but then we only able to have our first conference in 2017. And since 2017, we haven't failed. So every other year we do hold a conference. But as you can imagine, what influences the topic that we choose for the year is a lot based on what is happening in the tech ecosystem at the time, not just tech, but then really what's happening in the world at the time. So we take the theme based upon what we are observing and some of the clients that we engage over the years and what they are pointing to as we can do for the conference. And so in our first conference was in 2017, and the sub-theme was around winning through today's challenge with design thinking, right? And that's what we had. And of course, as you can imagine, the first conference we had was a full day conference. So it was from 9 to 5, and we were not sure what to expect. But then we were overwhelmed with the number of people that showed up on our first conference. So much that we didn't have space enough for people, and so people had to sit on the floor. And it was a full day, and people stayed from 9 to 5, and they didn't go up. So we were really surprised about the turnout. We had about 120 people in the room, and so we said, let's do it again the next year. And so the next year this is some of the pictures from the room. Those on the line, can you see the slides? Just confirm so we don't leave you out of the conversation. You can't see. Okay, let's try and do it again.
No.
See now. Just someone confirm if you can see.
I can see the slides.
You can see the slides. Great. So this was our first conference in 2017. Mary, we can see now. Great. And there's a number of people that showed up in the room that we used. And so you can imagine all of the spaces were filled and we have people standing at the back. And 2018, we did have some thematics. So these are the sub-theme workshop that we had. And so in 2018, we thought to do it again, but this time 2 days, because then we had a very overwhelming number of people show up and activities were a lot. And so we needed 2 days now to do the conference. And in 2018, we were thinking about doing design thinking for competitive advantage, for social impact. And so at the time, of course, a lot of things were happening around social impact. So we themed the conference around that. And we did it for 2 days and it was paid. So people had to, it wasn't free. And we still had a lot of people show up. So I'm building up to why we've seen a lot of people show up year after year. We had this gentleman, Annie, from the Design Thinkers Academy from the Netherlands also come down. So then we realized that we were having sort of a global reach because then a lot of people were reaching out and wanting to come and speak at Design Thinking Conference. And just to go a step back, in 2017, when we started, we were the only design thinking, it was the first design thinking conference on the African continent from Africans for Africans. And so it was an interesting one and we held on to that. Over the years, we've seen some of the conference happening in South Africa, in Nigeria, and all of that. So I think we are proud to have started in Ghana for Africa. And then this was some of the pictures from the 2018 conference. And again, in 2019, we did design thinking for financial inclusion and 5G. So you could remember at the time, 5G was just coming up. And then there was a lot of conversation around Momo. How do we democratize Momo, use Momo as a platform that introduces rural people into financial inclusion. So that was a conference in 2019. And then again, we did at the Stanbic incubator and we still had good turnout. In 2020, it was COVID, but we still did have our conference, but this time online. And so fully online. And we're looking at building a toolkit for innovation in times of adversity. So you can clearly understand why. A lot of people were doing things online and we thought they needed some tools to be able to cut through the chaos. And so we did about, leading up to that, we had done an 8-week training program where every other week we take one design thinking tool and then we help people use that while they are home and lockdown and all of that. We also did have a good turnout. We had about 80 people show up online and it was about 3 hours and they stayed out through. So we're really thinking people were going to be bent, they're going to have screen fatigue, but that didn't happen. And then we had Annie again from the Netherlands Design Thinkers Academy show again. And last year we did have a hybrid conference. So then we went fully online 2020 and then 2021 we came hybrid and we were testing. The theme was exploring hybrid format for design thinking conference, online and on-site simultaneously. And so if the sound issue we're having now had happened last year, it would have been a disaster because we were modeling that. And we did have a very perfect seamless experience, almost like a TV production where you have the presenter sit and then there's another person on the screen, they're interacting real time. And so we're able to simulate that really well. There's some of the pictures. So we have the moderator speaking and we have some of our keynote speakers just right there and they are interacting in real time. We did figure that out because we thought that. And then 2 years after pandemic, we think we figured it out, but then not quite yet. And so that has been the journey for design thinking conference over the years. So the point is, why do we keep having these conferences in times of adversity? And why are people willing to pay to come have some of these conversations, right? There was a survey that IBM did in 2010, which is still relevant. So that's 12 years ago, but still relevant. And the question was, they surveyed about 150 CEOs across the world. And they asked the question, what are the most important leadership qualities for CEOs over the next 5 years from 2015? And almost instantly, about 60% of the 1,500 CEOs said it's creativity. That is the most important skill for every leader in the next 5 years. And the next 5 years, of course, would have been 2015. But from 2015 till now, I think we can all agree that it still is creativity, right? I should turn what? They said they can't see. They can see now. Oh, awesome. I think we almost figured it out now. Okay, so I can turn my, oh, that's what you were saying. Good.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, the point is we had all of these CEOs, business leaders saying that they think creativity is the skill that every leader should have. And I think we have a quick conversation on that. Why is there a strong push or point to having creativity as one of the skills that every leader should have, the most important skill that every leader should have? Those on the call, you can unmute and start to speak to us about that if we have a quick an answer. But we open up for some of the why should creativity be the most important leadership skill that every leader should have now in our world? Any thoughts on that? Yeah, you want to say something? Not yet. Oh, you want to go? Yeah, please go. So we just pass this thing around like a microphone. Yeah.
So good morning. My name is Eric Annan. So I'm an entrepreneur building a tech startup based out of Delaware. I'm a Ghanaian. I've been in the space, Web3 space since 2017. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, I think I saw this, I think 3 days ago, and I decided to give it a shot. I returned back to the country last year, exactly July, try to see how we can recreate and build a more community-driven tech ecosystem. I've had the privilege to travel around the continent. I know what's happening in Nigeria. I've been in the Nigeria tech ecosystem of South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia. I remember in 2018 in Zambia, Lusaka, talking to the man responsible for technology, and today Zambia has opened up a robust future for entrepreneurs across the continent. So for me, my goal to coming back to Ghana was, I see a lot of silos, tech ecosystem in Ghana, and everybody's trying to be in their own silos. Nobody's talking to anybody. So this is very paramount. I've seen this research. I think it's more than critical for us as Black people and a big continent with 65%, over 65% of the continent being young people, the average age of 18. It's imperative for us to begin to look at how do we create a better future that we didn't meet. The whole conversation has been, okay, because I struggle, you must also struggle. So creativity for me is more than just the word creativity. It stems down from how we educate our young people, and the kind of information we churn out. So if you're in Ghana today, you open a radio station, from morning to evening, there's 2 things that you hear. It's politics, sports. Politics, sports. So we are not able to kind of create a more curious environment. People are not asking deep questions as how we need to create the next 10 years. So I'll start me back to just 30 years ago, where China decided to go very aggressive. It all started with a why. I think we are not hungry enough and we are not driven enough as a people. The way things are moving, if you really don't look at these things, this data, and then begin to question the status quo, and everybody feel like, oh, it's normal to do things that we're doing, then it's insanity. So my thought about these things is, in as much as we're looking at design thinking, it's not just about digital. It's also stemmed down to even the physical. If today we for example, senior high school, free senior high school is being taught, people are struggling in school, they don't eat, they are not eating. It boils down to one thing, right? If feeding is a problem, and we know that people have to struggle to get feeding, the government cannot pay. How do we redesign it to ensuring that if I'm a parent, I can pay for my kid feeding? Does it mean that I still have to get government freebies? So it's important that both the private sector and the public sector, especially the young people, begin to ask questions beyond the normal thing. So I'm going to social media, just opening up social media and then be thinking that everything is normal on the social media. I think finally, something is happening in Nigeria that I believe if we can pay attention to the Nigerian tech ecosystem as a country, Ghana, then we don't even need, the political war chest that we have in the country, because everything in Ghana is two things. Either you're in politics or you're out. And that is not really helping. So I believe that the creativity starts from us from day one. How is we educate our people, young people from JSS through acquiring skills? Because people still think that I need to finish school and get a government job. Whilst you can easily get 3 months skill that can enable work remotely and globally. That's one of the things that I believe we are doing. And one of the key things I'm doing today is how do we reinvent job? How do we make people?
Really make your point. Thank you so much. Kindly, thank you so much. Yeah.
I just pass this to you. We center it back on creativity, right?
Sure. I think the definitions and functions of leadership were created thinking that all elements will be held constant. So when it is on a normal platform, yes, the stars are okay, definition is okay, rules are okay. However, the environment keeps changing. And because of that, we need to be creative to fit into any system when it comes.
One more.
All right, great. Those online, we just had some contributions from 2 people in the room. Just one last, if anyone of you online will want to speak to the question on the board, why are CEOs saying the most important skill for leaders in the 21st century should be creativity? Is anyone able to speak to that? Okay, we'll move on while you think about that.
Yes.
Okay, you want to go? Yeah, give it a go. Just introduce yourself.
Yes. Yeah, my name is Samuel. I work with On Point. Yeah. So I think that leaders in the first place were made leaders because of a creative solution they had to a problem that was existing then. And so the reason why it's most important to them is that it is what will keep them relevant and their business going. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that. Right. And so I think we've established that creativity really, as our CEOs have said, and as we shared in the room, our friend over there said, the platform, the environment keeps changing. And so creativity will help us thrive. And then our friend over here also mentioned, give us a good sense or paint a good picture of what the current discourse is. And so needing to cut through that chaos, we need to probably agree with the CEOs that creativity really is the skill that we are all needing to, should be the most important skill. Now, there's also been a conversation that should CEOs go to business school or to go to art school? And very recently, Harvard Business Review published an article that canceled business school. Design school is now hot. I think that was the caption of the article. And so there's really the conversation around helping people be creative is taking center stage, if it has not already, right? And we having business leaders point us to that. And so this article here was pointing to the fact that CEOs are now going to art school, think more creatively, because the skill that they can pick from those art schools cross over to business, and those leaders that are able to make that jump are the most creative and the most successful. Of course, we can't talk about creativity without you seeing this picture. So I'm sure you were expecting going to see Steve Jobs. He mentioned that when you ask creative people, how they did something, they usually feel guilty because they didn't really do it. They were able to connect experiences they had and synthesize new things, right? And so the fact is, if creative people are really feeling guilty because they felt they were not geniuses, or they didn't have any skill that none of us have, the conversation really is, how do we then get creative? So we're going to base off on that to say, if I establish that design creativity is a core skill that's 1,005 CEOs are saying every leader should have, but creative people are saying, I don't know how I did this. And what design thinking is seeking to do is to now bridge that gap between, we all agree that creativity is important, but creative people are saying, we don't know how we essentially came about that. So we are needing a tool to break the gap, right? And design thinking is that tool that breaks the gap. It's a tool that helps you leverage all of what you know, structurize that, and give you a step-by-step approach into doing and solving things creatively. And so that is the reason why we do this conference every year, and people show up and we get great feedback and they show up the next year. And so really quick one, of course, I like this one. It says our brains are, our brains are really good with natural pattern recognition, but not go into that. I thought I had another one here. It says the brain is a lazy piece of meat, right? Until you beat it, you can't really have it go into creative mode. So what we're going to do today, we're going to center the conversation around that, and we have our experts in the room who will be giving us, instantly expertising us on Web 3.0. And so we're going to push all of that conversation into Web 3.0 and have a dialogue around it. But quickly, before we go, can you really find a mistake? Anyone really quick? Let's see who can spot it quickly. So what we're trying to bring our minds into creative mode, right? So let's start. You found it, then hold it, just hold it. Let's see how many people have spotted a mistake over there. Can you find a mistake? Someone on the line, two. Please, people on the chat, you're too smart. Hold on. How many people have seen it? Please don't read the chats. How many of us have seen the mistake over there? Anyone in the room? I'd like to call someone. You've seen it. Okay, what's it then? What are we missing? Who found a mistake? Right? The word mistake. No.
Double the.
Who's on the line? You guys are saying something?
Double the, Shelly.
Yeah, Shelly, what are you saying? What's the mistake here?
T does, it's a double.
It's a double THE, right?
That's correct, yes.
And I'm thinking right when we put it there, people are looking at mistake because it was highlighted. People are looking at the numbers. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there's a lot going on. And so your brain will have to think creatively to be able to figure out what is happening there. Maybe let's look at this other one. Maybe now we are waking up. Come again? The same thing, right? Okay, a bird in hand. We have 2 there over there, right? Now the last one. So what we're doing is we want to move out we want to have a drink, no drink, drink, no drink, drink, no drink. We have to move just one of the drinks. So by moving just one glass, can you rearrange these glasses so that we have a full and empty glasses alternate? How are we going to fix that? You can pour out the drinks anyhow you want. Yeah, come again. You found it? Yeah, let's give it a try. That's actually how you solve that. So you have to pour the second one into the last but one, and then put that one at the end, and then we have drink, no drink, drink, no drink, right? So quickly, yeah, I think we are ready to get into that. So I'll move over to Papa, you.
All right. So
all right.
So the basic exercise. Am I feeling confident? Am I saying something, but I don't have that. I have no.
To introduce once again our first keynote speaker, Mr. Dario Bianchi, and he will be speaking on understanding Web 3.0 environment and how we can engage them. So Dario, ready?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me? And I don't know whether you can see me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Fantastic. So you have the floor.
But can you also see me? Somehow I don't see myself. I don't know. Okay. Can I share my screen, please?
Go ahead, Dario.
Okay.
Matthew, can you make him? No. Yeah, he can share now.
Can you see my screen?
Loud and clear. We can see and hear you.
Thank you. Recently, I was a speaker at a conference, and basically I found out only at the end of the conference that my slide didn't move from number 1. So I always check now.
Dario, just a second. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So people in the room, can we hear him clear? Green light to go. Right, you have green lights. You can go.
Okay, thank you. So good morning, all. I'm Dario. I work in MTN, where I look after all the digital products and initiatives. So if sometimes you struggle with MyMTN or with Ayoba, now you can put a face to your issues. Or if you love the product, again, very happy that that you like what we have been trying to do for the last few years. So today, sorry, there's a bit of background noise. I don't know if, can we mute the others, please? I don't know who is the admin. If you can mute the others, please. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about Web 3.0, and I think maybe the audience is expecting a lot of answers from me, but actually I have no answers at all. And I will give you 5 questions that to open up a discussion. That's exactly what I would like to do today. I'm sorry I'm not here I'm not there with you. Normally I'm based in Ghana, but I'm spending a few weeks here in Italy, in my home country, but I'm looking forward to meet you all face to face in the next few weeks. So let's start with the sorry, it's not moving. Let's start with some definitions. So when you go to Web 3.0, of course, you can find many definitions online. This is the one I found on Wikipedia, but you can find many others. But now, when we talk about Web3, beyond blockchain, decentralization, and so on, there is also a more wider definition that also includes, metaverse, AI, and so on, because I don't think you can just look at one without the rest. It's the future of the internet and fintech. So I'm considering a more wider definition when I talk about Web3. And let's start with some of the issues we are seeing on Web3 and specifically on the metaverse. The first one is that anonymity. So when I go and put my VR set and I'm inside the metaverse, people don't know my identity. And this is exactly what we want, because the idea is that you can potentially live a different life in the metaverse. I'm a manager in my real life. When I move into the metaverse and I start chatting with people, I can pretend I am somebody else. But if you look at number 2 here, this is creating some serious issues. And these are exactly the same issues we have on Web 1 and Web 2, where people go on Twitter, start, putting bad words about people, and then because we don't know who they are, there's not much that can be done about it. And the same is happening. And recently I was reading this article about a journalist who spent a few hours in the metaverse trying to really understand how it works. And he actually saw, firsthand, virtual sexual harassment in sexual assault, actually, in the metaverse. That's not what we want, because if this is the evolution of the internet, we want something better than what we have today. And then number 3 is the major risk that we have right now. We don't want these 5 companies who today are ruling Web 2, and some of them were also ruling Web 1, to also rule Web 3. So can we really build this decentralized world where actually we don't have, Facebook with 2 billion or actually even more users and owning all the data and everything? Is a real decentralized world? What do we have to do that? And that brings me to my first question. So how can we avoid on Web 3 all the issues that are affecting Web 1 and Web 2? Then we move to another area of Web 3, that is blockchain. Again, here I start with definition just to make sure we are all on the same page. Okay, this is a definition I found from IBM. Everything about facilitating transactions and tracking of assets and so on. So everything around blockchain is around decentralizing, and you don't have one central entity basically deciding whether who you are is who you're saying you actually are, and few other things. But the problem with blockchain is around, do people know what blockchain is? Do you really see many many applications of blockchain that affect all of us? And do actually people know that how blockchain works? There are no risks and so on. So what you see on the screen is 6 examples of companies, entities using blockchain. And I'm pretty sure that you can recognize the one at the bottom left and maybe the top right. So the top right is of course, Bitcoin and crypto. A lot of people used to make money with Bitcoin. Now it's a bit more difficult, but it remains very critical. And in Africa, especially Bitcoin and crypto in general is growing massively. I was reading a statistic the other day that around 35% of people in Nigeria somehow managed some crypto in the last 6 months, mainly to transfer money and to do remittances. We have DHL, they use now blockchain to track some of their logistics. But then there are some other interesting companies. So what you see in the middle is a company called Boaz, and they develop an application for mobile voting, completely decentralized, so that you have no risk when you go and cast your ballot. Or the one in the middle, that is a company recently acquired by Spotify called MediaChain, to make sure you sign a contract, a blockchain contract with an artist, and the artist gets paid and gets all the revenues directly without any intermediaries. Or the one on the bottom right, Galaxy, around, and this is a new thing that is coming around social token. I was reading also Davido, the Nigerian artist, now have a social token. So these are tokens that you buy and enables you to have some sort of deeper access to the artist, but then this becomes an asset. If the artist gets more famous, then your social token becomes more valuable. So these are all these applications around blockchain, but how many are really, for the normal person on the street? I was thinking, are there any, maybe there are, and I don't know them, but are there any blockchain applications that can be accessed using USSD? That is used by large, the main channel for people in Africa. So that gives me to the second question. So how can we democratize blockchain? How can we make sure that people know what it is, and can we build applications? And here, take you to design thinking, applications that are not just cool and because it's innovation, but actually are applications that people will use. And not people, I'm not talking about 100 people, but talking about hundreds of thousands of people. So that's the other key question that we have on Web3. Then we move to the world of AI. And recently I met a company in Ghana, and they use a combination of AI and drones to basically go through over the plantations and see from the top whether there are any issues with the plants themselves. These are things that you can see from the top, but you can't see them when you walk. And of course, also walking through hectares and hectares of a plantation would be impossible. So this is a very, not simple, but it's a very valuable application of AI used in Ghana and in Africa. But then when we talk about AI, we can't forget recently this article about this Google engineer who basically all of a sudden, who was working on Lambda, that is the most advanced Google chatbot. And then this is the script or the extract of how he was chatting with Lambda. And then all of a sudden he got worried that actually maybe what he built is too much. You realize that maybe Lambda has feelings, maybe Lambda is sentient. And then, this creates a lot of issues. Then he got fired by Google and a lot of things. And maybe the way he portrayed it on his article on Medium was a bit too extreme, but it is a problem. Where are the boundaries of artificial intelligence? Of course, we like all these applications, but where should we stop when we use AI? And this is just an example. There are many, many, many other examples, and then we can talk about racial bias on AI and many other things. So this takes me to the third question. AI is useful, but should we set up some boundaries? How can we rule, and can we set some rules on AI to make sure that it remains something good without becoming something that could potentially be dangerous? And now I'm getting to the end, and I want to show you this this banner, promoting the new VR set from Meta. It's a very nice banner, but I find there is something incredibly wrong on the bottom left. That is that number, 349 euros, I think is delivery included in Europe, to buy a VR set. So how many people can actually afford, a VR set if the cost is 349 euros? So is the metaverse really for all, or is just still very, very, very much niche? And what do we have to do to make sure that these 349, we remove a couple of digits from this? Today in Africa, as you all know, we have a major issue with the cost of smartphone, because we struggle to build smartphones that are below the $30, $20 price point. And here we're talking about 350 euros. And that's, and again, bring you back to design thinking, it's also, have you ever tried to use one of these VR sets? So last year, the global MTN conference was done virtually. No, 2 years. No, yeah, last year was done virtually. So they gave us a VR set. And after an hour, you just give up. Sorry, Peter, can you go on mute, please? Thank you. So the usability of these sets is not there yet. A standard VR set weighs around, half a kilo. So can we really build experiences for all with such devices? And what type of innovation can we do to make these experiences even better? This morning, I was reading about a company called Emerge that basically build a tool that connects to your VR set. And through some electrical things, I don't know, you can then feel on your hands the metaverse. So you don't need to use that tool that this guy is holding, but basically you really feel the metaverse with your hands. So these, of course, is an innovation, very expensive, but could make the difference, because you can start slowly removing all these tools that make the metaverse not really alive things. So again, question 4 is, what should take place for the metaverse to become really for all? And for all means affordability, usability, applications, everything. Now this brings me then to the last part. And here, the GSMA is the global consortium of mobile operators. And of course, MTN is part of it. And every year they release some statistics about mobile in the world, and with a key focus on developing countries. And these are just some of the key statistics that says a lot on where we are with mobile in the world. So if you see on the top left, the blue line is basically the download speed on high-income countries, and the yellow line is the download speed in low, medium income countries. And you see the difference is huge, and it's actually getting even larger. Of course, this speed does not apply to MTN in Ghana, because we have a great download speed, but this is the average, and you can see that with this download speed, can you really have a seamless Web3 and metaverse experience? But then on the right, affordability, same story. Okay, so with all these issues affecting internet and data, can we really believe that we can build a metaverse or experience? Or can we really believe that Africa can jump into Web3? But then let me show you another statistic still from the GSMA that is around mobile money. So maybe Africa, we don't have the fastest download speed, affordability of internet is a problem. But then when we look at mobile money, then there's no competition. Africa is by far, Sub-Saharan Africa is by far the largest country in the world, the largest region in the world, apologies, for mobile money. As you can see, all the other regions they just started, or they're not there. And then if you have such a large share of the population using mobile money, then the shift to crypto, it's much, much easier, because you already have the idea of having a digital wallet, okay? you're already using things like, you're paying with your mobile money and so on. So then shifting this to crypto, it's much easier. Recently, I've been approached by a company called Mara. Is a new startup that is entering. I think they are live in Kenya and Nigeria, and they want to enter Ghana. And it's all around crypto and sharing crypto. And what they want from MTN is just to connect, our mobile money wallet to their wallet. And so can you imagine if you go on your crypto app and with one click, you load from your mobile money. And again, the process is the same as a mobile money at the end of the day. So I think we have an amazing advantage here in Africa compared to many other parts of the world, because it's going to be easier to evolve, to move from mobile money to crypto. So this takes me to the last question, that is it the right time to start working on Web3 in Africa? And I have to say, this is the only question where I have an answer, and the answer is simply yes. Why is it yes? Because the continent has, in the last few decades, the continent, we have skipped many stages of the digital evolution. For example, I don't think that none of you had the experience of dial-up connection. Even ADSL is not such a big thing. So internet basically started with mobile. So few steps have been skipped. So the same can happen with Web3, but we can't wait for somebody in Europe or in the US or wherever to build Web3 application for Africa, because they don't know the continent. So we have to start doing it. Many mistakes will be done. We have to talk to users, engage them, find a way for us and for them to understand what is important, and then in parallel work and push to make sure that all of this is affordable. When we then look into how to apply, design thinking to all of it, of course, it's central, because the main concern I have is, again, the viability of applications for the continent. It must be built in Africa. It must be built for Africa, so that we really know what are the needs of the people here. We can test new ideas. The ideas that fail can be redesigned and retested, and then we continue and continue until we find applications that are, as I said, for all, first of all, and they are affordable and can really provide a benefit. Of course, the key example, again, is remittance, but it's just one example. Why can we evolve and make other applications that apply to a large majority of people in Africa? Thank you. I've concluded here. If you want to get in contact with me, you can just scan this QR code and you will get all my details. And happy to engage. I think we have a Q&A later after Shelly, so now, I don't know. I leave it to the MC to lead now. Thank you.
There we are, and there we have it, 5 key questions. Okay, 5 key questions for us to think about and ponder over in relation to the Web 3.0, as to whether we are ready for the Web 3.0. It is a big yes, but how we navigate our way. Dario has given us some clear guidelines from the design thinking perspective on how we should approach it. So we'll move on to our next keynote speaker. Shelly, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm just.
So Shelly is, as I earlier on introduced, a lawyer by training. She is the chief executive of Portico, and she will be talking to us on the Web 3.0 experience. So Shelly, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm just trying to share my screen. Give me a second. That was great, by the way, Dario. I have some answers for you.
Thank you, Shelly. Thank you.
Okay, just give me a second. Just trying to share my screen. I apologize for what you see. So I'm going to be the antithesis of Dario. I'm just going to say a quick hi on video. Hi everyone. So, all right, great. So, yeah, so I'm just going to do the Steve Jobs of Web3 and just talk you through my experiences in Web3, which is an area that I love. So I hope you can see my screen. It's very plain, and it starts with what Web3 is. So just quick introduction, just to give you a bit of context. I'm a management consultant with a background in law, tech delivery, banking, risk, oil and gas, and all sorts of things. As a tech entrepreneur as well, you get to see a lot of this stuff being built. So I do a lot of what Dario has mentioned resonates with me in terms of the challenges, and we clearly have some challenges, but also some great opportunity, which is why I'm super keen and passionate to talk to people about this and to make it mean something to them. Because contrary to popular belief, when people talk about jobs in tech or tech this, that there is no tech in of itself. It just doesn't exist. And this is why I talk to people and say, you've got to believe in tech, you've got to know the know-how, but ultimately what you're doing is you're serving people. So it does need to be human-centric, it does need to serve a purpose, it definitely needs to have value. So just you know, in terms of my work and what we do, besides the sort of you know, consulting on Web3 projects, so we consult, I consult for a few projects, I'm helping build some projects, I speak on it, I write on it, because it's really important. Like, I just don't feel enough people are paying enough attention. And as Dario says, we do not have to walk through every single evolutionary step. We have a great opportunity to pivot. And normally technology is where the pivot happens. So if people learn now what Web3 means to them, and, you know, maybe it's a small lift initially, the onboarding, because a lot, like right now we're living in a sort of cost of living crisis. The first step could be, hey, how do I better manage my inflation risk? How do I better manage my exposure to FX fluctuation? This is a real thing that is happening now. Me, myself, besides just actually building in Web3 space, I've actually now moved all my staff to Web3 payments, crypto payments. Initially, I thought, no, this sounds a bit insane. But one of my very young members suggested it, and it works really well, because anyone who's used the banking system or fintech apps knows the loops, the holes you have to go through. It's really strange for me with a sort of banking background to speak like this, but at the end of the day, it makes business work. I want to employ people on the continent. I want to employ people in Nigeria. Nigeria is a highly sanctioned country. And if you're dealing with sanctioned countries because of whatever reason, I don't want to go into that, you have a lot more hoops to jump through. And I think it's really unfair to penalize people who have talent in Nigeria and want to work and just can't get paid. So I've moved my payments to crypto and it works. It's really amazing. It's free and it's super fast. So that is my one of my very good reasons for embracing Web3. So just talking about Web3 now, what is Web3? Web3 for me is anything that's based on the blockchain. Blockchain effectively powers Web3. And if we're talking about Web3, we're talking about things like NFTs, cryptocurrencies, DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations, and DeFi, so decentralized finance. Okay, personally, we might have a slight deviation here, Dario. Metaverse for me is not strictly Web3. It works well with Web3, but the metaverse has been around since like a long time. Like I was an early adopter of Second Life. That's a virtual world. It's amazing. You build businesses, commerce, it's amazing. And I feel that this marriage between Web3, but also AI, a lot of the points that were raised is really gonna bring this stuff to life. It's really going to sort of like, I just think it's just going to power its evolution. And I'm not sure if anyone's aware of, you know, MetaCon, which is run by the South Koreans every year. And you would think it's a sort of consortium of gamers or whatever, but it's got senior government officials just talking about how this technology is going to affect the community, the lives of students, even things like mental health, sitting behind screens. Luckily, we don't have to use virtual headsets to access the metaverse. We absolutely don't. Like I said, I've been on the metaverse since, and we call it metaverse. It's actually just a small world within a sort of greater scope, because actually the metaverse, as described by Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, nobody knows how far we are from that yet, just in terms of bandwidth and capability, etc. So yeah, that's, and also the headsets are not good. Like, I mean, women have had very bad experiences wearing them, using them, because it makes them sick. And I don't know why. Nobody really knows at the moment why women tend to react badly to that. So we don't have to use headsets. You can use your laptop, you can use your mobile phone to access virtual worlds. So that's good news. So why does Web3 matter? Why does Web3 matter as a business, as a person? Well, I've already given one use case. As a business, I could pay my staff fast. As a person, if I was like, I tell my staff, listen, if you really want to manage your exposure to inflation or FX currency exchange, when you get your money, convert it straight away to a stable coin. So I'm not sure if anyone's aware of stable coins. Of course, we can do Q&A after, but stable coins are, for example, where USDC, USDT, so USDC is a coin, USDT is also there, it's supposed to be the least favorable, but you also have BUSD. Then there are a number of them, and those are effectively pegged to USDC, for example, is pegged to $1. So it's in, your money is then in crypto, but it's not necessarily, let's say, subjected to the fluctuations that you'd experience using another currency such as Ethereum or Cardano, etc. So if you wanted to do that, as soon as you get paid, change the money to USDC, store it in USDC. To some extent, it's kind of somewhat stabler, especially because USD is the sort of like, the main currency. So as a business, further examples are including transacting without fees. You do have to pay gas. So gas is effectively the money that you pay to validators to move transactions across. You operate in a trusted system, so you don't need a central party, which is really good. You operate without delays. There are a lot of systems checks, especially in the banking world, screening and all that, which is good, but you can bypass it. And I mean, whether good or bad, it is just another way of minimizing delays. And you can transact anonymously. Now, the anonymity is coming under question because more and more projects now are doing KYC. You might do KYC because you might want to ship something to someone, so it's important to verify who that is. It obviously depends on the business model and effectively the services you're trying to provide. And then also, so although you have a certain sense of pseudonymity, which is another way of saying anonymity, it's not always complete. And then you also have enhanced automation. So for example, if you're using Web3 to fundraise, you don't have to do all the paperwork that the VCs go through, etc. You can just issue an NFT, effectively bring money into the coffers and start operating and building your company. So there are lots of great use cases. So if you look at this and you look at design thinking, like I said, it's not just about the technology, it's often about making tech matter to those who use it, satisfying the user needs, satisfying the business needs. As a consultant, I see a lot of this, and I've seen so many tech innovations that have just failed. People have never heard of them. At the end of the day, Facebook was not the first social media company. There's so many firsts that we just don't know about. They didn't survive, right? Maybe because they might have failed to engage, might have engaged, but at some point lost that engagement. Other practical examples. Hello, did someone say something? Oh, I'm going to continue. Sorry.
I'll say no, you're good. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, no, okay, fine. Appreciate if anyone who's not speaking can mute just until I finish, thanks. Ticketing, for example. So for example, if I'm, create a ticket, I'm selling tickets, you now have like NFT semi-fungible tokens where you can issue a ticket, which initially is a ticket for an event. It will ensure that you get into the event. It will ensure that you bought it, you own it. And then once the event is over, it switches to a collectible. So it no longer functions as a ticket anymore to give entry, but also then you can now have it as collectible because people love that. Sports, you know, hey, I was the first person or one of the 1,000 that attended this amazing event. People might want to own that, so it then becomes a collectible. So that's really great. And like I said, what matters, it was always the human design, the reason behind it, the value, because what you're doing is creating value for people. Talking more about NFTs. So NFTs, so I mentioned the blockchain, NFTs. So those are non-fungible tokens, and people often ask, well, what is the difference? Really simple answer. Fungible means it's interchangeable and divisible. So that is how you have ERC20s, which are cryptocurrencies, and non-fungibles are ERC721s or 1155s or 4907s. Those are non-divisible and then non-interchangeable. It means they're unique. So if you have two houses on one street, they might look identical, but they have different histories. So one might have a porch because someone decided to extend the back. The second one doesn't have that. So they're not interchangeable, even though they might be similar. So that's really important. If anyone has any further questions about that, feel free to ask during the session later. I do want to talk really briefly about fundraising, because I think one concept or one challenge we have on the continent is fundraising. If you look at statistics relating to especially female founders or African founders going to VCs or working with VCs in Silicon Valley, we tend to raise the least amount of funding. I feel that Web3 gives us an opportunity to reclaim that, you know, the ability to raise funds for ourselves by effectively marketing the value we're going to create to customers, issuing either tokens, because a lot of businesses have been funded. I think Tesla's also raised money via an ICO. So you can raise money through a coin, or you can raise money through an NFT to effectively fund your startup and then build, effectively deliver your roadmap. For example, if you were going to raise or create a restaurant and you issued, let me get this right, about 10,000 NFTs at $200 each. I think that's about 2 million, and that's awesome. So that's your first primary sale, 2 million raised, which is amazing, straight into the coffers. And obviously your owners effectively own a share of, you know, the well, not the equity, but the goodwill, let's say. And that's another thing. So now you can fund without giving away sweat equity or equity at all. So you're effectively selling the dream, the hope, the value, the future value you're going to create. Now, another thing about NFTs is that once the secondary sale is over, you can also generate passive income from any secondary sales that are happening on the secondary market. So it's a great way for businesses to continue raising passive income through the sales, through the royalties and effectively secondary sales. What it also does, the NFTs, is that it gives users a way to earn passive income. Let's just say I have an NFT that gives me access to a gym, and that gym is in Accra, and I'm going to be in London for 6 months. I can effectively rent out my NFT to someone else. You know, if it's a really exclusive gym and I don't want to lose that NFT because I might not be able to get it again, I can rent it out and get passive income. And there are a number of sort of rental portals that you can use. But now with the sort of adoption, well, what's been approved is the ERC 4907 that effectively allows us to rent without having to go through a third party. A third party would typically hold your NFT in an escrow and then issue a wrapped version of your NFT to a third party for a certain number of time. I'm sorry if I'm deep in the weeds, but I love this stuff. I'm an absolute nerd. So if there's any questions about this and you'd like to learn how to operationalize or just figure out how any of this might work for your business, feel free to ask me later. Alternatively, if you don't want to rent, you can actually just sell, and like I said, you'll generate passive income. So again, if you relate this back to the design thinking, what I've seen, especially in terms of the ERC standards, is that there's a continued need to respond to evolving human needs, and it's always putting the humans at the forefront. It's almost like, what do people need, what do people want? And I see that happening with every single ERP that's being sort of created. I don't want to go on too much because I know that there's a time limit on this, but I'd also like to mention things like DeFi, decentralized finance, that effectively you earn higher interest rates than your standard bank would give you. There's been some issue with that recently with the fall of companies like Celsius that were operating rather sort of high risk practices, but that's more of a governance issue rather than a Web3 thing. So I don't think that that's the end of that industry, so to speak, because there are other companies operating within this space. And also DAO governance. And I think DAO governance is a really excellent way to engage your people, crowdfund ideas, but also get approval and just get a sense of, you know, we talked about CEOs needing to create. You can be creative if you have the data that you need to inform your creativity. If you're creative without any sort of link between what your people want and need and what you want, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. So as a CEO, yes, you do need to be creative, but that needs to be in response to the data you receive. And I feel like things like the data collection, which is why on one side, the anonymity is good, but on the other side, it's going to hinder business until businesses learn how to re-engage customers in a way that customers are happy to give their information, hopefully get rewarded for it. And that businesses use that information responsibly and reward the people who give it. So I think I'm going to conclude my keynote speech there. If there are any further questions, that I'll be very happy to take them. Thank you so much.
Great, Shelly. Thanks for that. I had feedback. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kwame, can you mute? Right, great. Thanks, Shelly. So we're going to go right into Q&A. We have a few questions come through in the chat. But then one, key highlight from what you said that I think I want to reiterate is you mentioned that, why that's Web 3.0 matters. And you said, it's not so much about the technology, but so much about making the technology matter, which I thought was profound. So thanks for that. We've got a question in there. For, I think, Dario. So we have Kevin. No, let me get the name right. Yeah, I'll just go ahead. We have a question for Dario. It says, how can we make Web 3.0 effective in education? And the second it was two questions. The next one was, how do we get students to think about utilizing the technology of Web 3.0? Dario, over to you. If you got that one, how do we make Web 3.0 relevant and effective in education? And then two, how do we get students thinking about Web 3.0 solutions? Because he says he thinks students are not thinking about that currently.
I think that thank you for the question. I think the problem we currently have is all around knowledge, and because if you know what Web3 is, then you can think about how to apply it in education, how as a student I can know about it and study about it. But the problem is that we miss the basics of the education. And to be honest, even in MTN, that of course we should be one of the innovative companies in the country. We are still struggling with some of these concepts. Okay, so now we are starting a lot of sessions, with staff on Web3 and so on. But I think the key thing is that more is required to learn about it and to study, and for people to be educated about it. Recently, I was reading about a company called Breach. Is a African startup that its aim is exactly to do that, to basically find a funny way to educate on blockchain and crypto and all these things. So I guess my recommendation is it's not a recommendation. I think it's an evolution, and I think it will take time to make sure that also the institutions and so on understand blockchain, and then make sure that gets implemented and education plans are put in place.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, please, if I may. This is Shelly.
Go ahead, Shelly.
Yeah, so I'm super stoked about because Dario mentioned about socios or social tokens, etc. If you look up football teams that have now created their own social tokens, they're raising millions and millions just by effectively selling fans amazing experiences. So one of the things that I'm doing now is I'm looking to engage a student body, especially in Ghana, to look at how educational institutions can tokenize their goodwill and also their brand values and their own experiences to effectively increase and improve the welfare of students. So that's something I'm actively working on right now. And it's just something that's really exciting. It's not just about the institution, but it's also about making things better for the student body as well, especially now with this sort of cost of living crisis. There's so many ways to do and so many things to do.
I think we take some questions from the room and we answer it in the room. Yeah. So if you've got any questions, yeah. Great, please, right.
Okay, yeah, so there was a particular, while you were talking, there was a particular ERC that you actually mentioned that allows you to transfer or temporarily transfer ownership to somebody. So basically rent out your NFT without selling it. And I didn't catch that. So it's ERC.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you not the number straight away, but what right now with the ERC 721s, you can actually use an escrow service to rent. But now there's a new ERC 4907. It's really new, like it literally came out last week. So super new. I haven't seen anything built on it, but it will effectively allow you to rent direct from the NFT.
Any question in the room? We answer in the room. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Bimbi, and I have a question. My question is, how can blockchain help Africa?
You want to direct someone?
Yeah.
To Shelly or Dario or anyone at all?
Anyone.
Yeah. He said, how can blockchain help Africa? I think we answer.
Can I'd like, sorry, was someone going to say something?
Shelly, go, please.
Grazie. Okay, fine. That is a huge question. I would say, how can't blockchain help Africa? At the end of the day, it's not that blockchain is the answer to everything. There are definitely some limitations that we're facing, definitely some challenges. We have the challenge of the last mile, for which we need things like IoT to be able to work with blockchain to solve. But in terms of how blockchain can help Africa, the question I'd like to redirect to you first is, what help do you want, right? Because again, we need to start with the human use case rather than the technology. If you build technology first, it's just not going to work. So what help do you want? I've mentioned a few cases about inflation. I've talked about currency fluctuation exposure. I've talked about payment gateways. I've talked about identity to some extent. I've talked about fundraising. I mean, the list goes on. So maybe, yeah, just articulate the help you want and we'll see if blockchain can help. Thank you.
Okay, that was a good answer. So he said, if you articulate the help that you need in, then probably we'll be able to more discuss how blockchain can help. That's a good one. We have Isnam. You want to ask a question from the chat? You can go ahead and unmute and ask. That'll be good.
I think Dario wanted to add to that.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Dario, you can go.
You know, I think I'm aligned to your last point that we shouldn't do technology first. We should really understand the needs of people in the continent, and then from there see how the technology can help building applications that solve some of the issues. And that's why, for example, again, remittances is one of the most successful, because it's solving a specific problem that people are facing in Africa.
Okay, thanks. Islam, you go. I think that's the last question we take, and then we switch the conversation over to the room.
Sure. Thank you, Kofi. Thank you also, Dario and Shirley. It's interesting to listen to you because, Shirley, when you had mentioned that education is needed, for me, it was interesting because in my mind, the question I was going to ask you was recommendations for a one-stop shop, which is more of like a crash course in Web 3.0 in blockchain technology and understanding how to leverage that for the use of like more of like to benefit community from where we can get value. And Dario had mentioned Breach, which is a great resource that I would look up. And so if you still have that recommendation, Shirley, please give it. But also interested in your question about wanting to partner with an educational institution here. I studied at Ashesi University a while ago, and interestingly, over the past month, they've been looking at how to restructure the curriculum to be more relevant to more society and the corporate workplace. And so a lot of that has been conversations and focus group discussions. So I definitely would want to coordinate a conversation if you are interested. with the business department or any other department that would find this relevant, so that we can see what comes out of that.
S&M, that's amazing. I would love to connect. I'm definitely, I'm actually talking to certain people in Chessy right now. I definitely want to talk to you, because myself, if you step away from Web3, myself as a recruiter or as a hiring manager, I find that the gap between education versus being ready to deliver value is quite large. So I feel that exposing people to expectations of the workplace early on in their career, even while they're studying, is super important. Definitely hit me up. In terms of education on Web3, we actually deliver a course every single week for free, and we have daily shows on Twitter. So every day we have what's new in Web3 that happens at, I think it's 10 a.m. 10 a.m. GMT every day by my community manager who's in Ghana. And we have one at, I think it's 9 p.m. every day, talking about lifestyle, financial literacy, financial inclusion and stuff like that. And people learn a lot, plus hands-on experience on how to trade, bid, and do all sorts of things with NFTs. So feel free to jump on. We're actually looking for people to, engage with. So yes, if anyone's interested, Web 3.0 Africa, I will put the link in the chat and hopefully we can connect soon. Thank you.
Right, I was going to call it for the questions on the online and bring it to the room, but then Barbara has been persistent. So Barbara, quickly drop your question and then we shoot over the conversation to the room.
Kofi, I've actually already posted the question, but you didn't pick it up. I'm interested in what Shirley was talking about in relation to social tokens. I work with rural women farmers, and one of the big challenges they have is accessing finance. And this kind of whole notion of raising social tokens sounds like a really interesting, creative way. Women in particular, women farmers in particular, are considered a much higher risk, by mainstream financial institutions. And it's been a real challenge trying to find alternative ways in which to open up new pathways for them. So I just wanted to get some thoughts on that.
Barbara, that's a great question. So if you want, we can have a chat. I will share my Calendly link and I can go through some of the use cases for social tokens right now. I mentioned football teams, I mentioned artists, I mentioned, YouTubers, everything. Effectively, I mean, one of the earliest ones that worked with A16Z was Rally Coin, but since then a number of celebrities have launched their own social tokens. You can use Rally, but you can just create an NFT and basically tell people what you are doing. And if they buy into what you're doing, effectively, they will buy the NFT, and that effectively funds your business. And that is how you just raise the money. Clearly, it's nice to have a roadmap because people want to know what they're buying into. It's nice to have milestones. It's good to have the communication so they know that you're keeping up with what, because I do feel there've also been a lot of people who've abused this to kind of get money and just disappear. It happens all the time, even with some rather large projects. So having an idea of what you want, engaging the community, and effectively launching a sale to raise funds. And that is how it's, I don't want to say it's that easy, but it's literally that easy. When I say it's not that easy, obviously you've got to think of the community, the marketing aspects, discoverability, reach, etc. And then remember, once you've sold the token on the primary market, like the primary sales, so clearly you get the majority of it, you have to pay platform fees, etc. You then can raise passive income every time people are trading your token. So you need to generate demand. It makes no sense if you sell something and that's it. If you keep it coming, the value keeps coming, you keep communicating that value, people will want to buy that token. So there'll be a lot of exchange, a lot of volume, and every time an exchange takes place, you earn royalties in perpetuity. So that's forever, the rest of your life. Like, as long as that smart contract is operational, it will continue to earn royalties for the creator. And that is how you can keep raising passive income for the business ongoing.
Right. So Shirley, is the difference the fact that you're able to access an interested consumer directly as opposed to going through an institution? Is that what makes the difference?
Absolutely. So Web3 is very much community driven, and this is what your influencers like Gary Vee speaking about. So those who have built like communities for years now have this amazing advantage where they can directly communicate and And that is why a lot of musicians, I mean, Grimes was one, Kings of Leon also raised their sort of NFTs and raised a lot of money because they have these really committed followers who just love and they want to own a piece of anything. So if you are someone, a person, a brand, have brand equity that people want to be part of, people, they will buy your token, trust me. And you know, as long as value keeps coming, the communication is there, etc., the trade volume will keep raising passive income for you to keep creating value for them. So it's kind of like a quick process. Yeah. But I'd love to speak to you. I'm going to share my calendar.
Me too.
Take that.
That would be great. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Shelly and Barbara. I think I'll just interrupt there. And you guys will take the conversation after a good conversation happening. So we're going to switch over to the room. I know there's still some more questions in the chat. We won't be able to take it now. We're going to move directly to the hands-on session, and we have Frank here to lead that. And so everyone stay put, and we're going to go directly into, I'm sure we have a lot of questions as to how do we bring this forward? What really is it? And I'm sure that's why you're all here. And so Frank will take us through that. And just a little bit of announcement, we have the washrooms. If you go out, if you exit this gate to your right, it's somewhere here. So you'll find a washroom. And then this car number GN603516, you need to repark. And we bring the conversation to the room. Thank you for joining those online. We have about 45 people on the line and about maybe close to 26 in the room. And so we will have the rest of the conversation inside the room where we're going to talk about how to make Web 3.0 relevant to the consumer. And so we're thinking about empathy and user centricity. And Frank will be taking us through that.
It was good to see all your lovely faces. All right. I think we are almost ready to start. Are you enjoying it so far? Nice. I'll probably need to like hold your laptop or something.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Just so what to expect, we're going to have answers to the round. After that, we have the final opening closing address, which is for 5 minutes. We will have networking and launch outside, and by okay, Frank, let's see.
All right. Okay. So can I stand up and walk a bit?
Yes.
All right. Cool.
Those please ask on the line. Can they see your slide?
Yeah. Can the guys online see my slide?
Yeah, GM.
Yeah, GM.
Yeah, we can see.
Right, so I'll just be walking around because I think a lot of people have been standing and just looking in one direction. So okay, so how many people? Oh, I see Polygon here. How many people have used Web3 or anything connected to Web3 before? Just a show of hands, of course. Polygon man. All right. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna ask like 2 people to just share their experience, like 30 seconds. So again, a show of hands on this side, this side. Okay, so obviously, you know, I'm gonna pick you. So yeah, you can say your name again.
Yeah, so I have my name is Hayodeji, and I'm currently I'm currently an advocate for Polygon. Okay. So I have, what kind of experience do you need me to share? Is it the community aspect or technical aspects?
Like any short, maybe anecdotal, you know, little story.
Okay.
Just be sure.
Okay, so I've been in the Web2 space for long, and so I kind of was fascinated about the Web3 space. So I made research and I got to find out about Polygon. That led me to apply to join the advocate program, which I was selected. Currently, I lead the Abuja community in Nigeria. Yeah, so one thing I noticed about Web3 community is just the passion of people in that community have passion. Yeah. You see a lot of people in Web3 space are people with passion to learn new things, because that's what brought you into that space. And we're almost fascinated by the fact that, you know, the system is decentralized and no central authority. That's another catchy point of Web3. Yeah. People want to just be their own and, you know, try, you know, the whole selling point, though there are some people claiming to Web3, but they are not really decentralized. But the whole selling point of Web3 is just being able to have your information and have it with you and not have it shared with anybody else.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So you spoke about passion, decentralization, and self-sovereignty, I guess. Yeah.
Can I sit?
Yeah, you can sit, stand.
Okay. My name is Bassett. I've been in the Web3 space for just a couple of years, let's say 2 years, and I've traded quote unquote shit coins.
Wow.
For some time. So then we decided to create a utility token named callback. So with this token, when you buy this token and a token with a DApp, a decentralized application, where people can promote their projects. So then if you promote your project, there's a transaction fee from the amount you pay that is sent as BUSD to the holders of the callback token. That's it.
Interesting. Okay, so it's really good to know that there are some people who have had experience with Web3 in the room. And when I was preparing for this, that was one of the big headaches, because you talk about Web3, but most people have never heard or even used. That's the thing. They've heard of it, but they haven't used it. And the best way to understand something is for you to just use it. I promise you, if you all just make one transaction, right? You get your wallet, you get it all set up and everything, and you just do one transaction, everything will make sense. At least it will start making sense, right? So let me just dive right in. And I'll be discussing empathy and user centricity in Web 3.0, right? So let's start with definitions, or let me just define myself first, right? So my name is Frank Guadio, right? I have been, in the space for, not the space, but the web space for 8 years, right? And decentralization, I'm into that. And I've started, excuse me, did you mute yourself, Philip? Yeah, cool. Okay, and I'm also an ETH maxi. Let me just leave it there. Okay. Can we go on to the next one? All right, cool. So let's first define empathy. Do we all know what empathy is? Okay, what is it? Okay, so I'll just start or continue from here, right? So empathy is simply the ability, and I'm just reading it off there, the ability to understand and share the feelings of other people or of another. Right? So I'm pretty sure we've all been in situations where we wanted people to feel empathy for us, or we have felt empathy for others, right? Now, taking that to design thinking is very powerful, because remember, we are not designing for ourselves. We're designing for other people, right? We're advocating for the user. So in doing that, we have to make sure that we are empathetic, right? So how do we do that? The first thing is we have to make sure that whatever we're doing, like I said, is for the individual, right? Now, obviously, there are a lot more people who will be able to take you through the whole design thinking process, but empathy is where it starts. And when you have empathy, you can build on top of that, right? So before I move on, I just want to highlight that Web3 is very community-centered, very community-driven, right? So you have to make sure you are advocating for the individual, but also the collective. So it's not just the individual, it's also the collective, right? Which I would say is a big difference between at least the traditional web stuff that I have done in the past and Web 3.0, right? Everything is supposed to be community-centered as well as user-centered. So sometimes it's hard to balance the two, because it's almost like trying to balance the ideals of the many versus the ideals of the few or the one, right? So again, I'm pretty sure a lot of us are designers. By the way, how many people are like designers, any form of design in the room? Visual design, even if you're into like cooking or anything, all of that is design. All right, great. Okay, awesome. All right, let's continue. And then we go on to user centricity. Unfortunately, it's still not syncing. Okay. Okay, so user centricity, or I like to say user centeredness, but anyway, is the ability to understand users' situations, perceptions, and expectations, right? So we have basically those three things, right? So we all have expectations, right? You all came here because you thought of something. You had an expectation for coming here, right? So managing those expectations, right, is the job of the people who have organized this this conference, right? So you have to make sure, or they have to make sure, that your expectations are managed and that you as a user, or you as a, you know, an attendee of a conference, right, is going to be, your expectations are going to be met. What you are coming here to do is going to be met, right? Now, thank you, right? Before, there was, let's just say there was the system, or let's just say machines, and human beings had to adapt to machines. So put simply, we had to adapt to the external world. So the world was fixed and we had to adapt to it. Now, there's been a shift to the world changing to us, or let's just say manipulating or trying to change the world to suit our needs, which is a very big paradigm shift, because until the computer, we couldn't really do things like that. Before, let's just say, the Industrial Revolution, we couldn't do that, right? So building machines that could outdo us is a very crucial part of how we got here. So if you kind of understand everything that's been happening for, you know, the last over 200 years, right, in the history of the world, all the way to now, it's been building up to you sitting here right now, and being able to enjoy something that you can use to build something that will outdo you, to build communities that'll be bigger than yourself. So this is what has allowed us to shift from, you know, like I was explaining, the system being the most important to human beings being more important. Now, we have HCI, so human computer interactions. And we also have user-centered design, which again, it's human at the center. And then we have just the ability to iterate, investigate, and generate things, or let's just say processes in this particular example, but it could be value, it could be anything, right? Let me just move on. Now, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time here, right? Because you ask 3 different people who have worked in Web3, and they'll tell you 3 slightly different things, right? But essentially, it's the same thing. We're all looking or trying to extract value, right? So if you're thinking about you taking a loan on your house, for example, right? So you can have a house, the house has been valued at maybe, I don't know, 1 million CDs, and then that can then be, you can then go and borrow against it. So the house on its own has value that is locked inside, right? Now you can then use that home as collateral, right, in order to extract that value. So then you still have the house, obviously, you know, it's as collateral, but you can also use that money to do other things. So you have unleashed the latent power, or the latent value inside of that asset, right? So the same thing kind of works with communities as well. So when we're talking about community tokens, remember, humans are the ones that give things value, right? Obviously, there are some things that have inherent value, but that's because of the reality we live in, right? So even things like gold, I always joke and say gold does not have inherent value, like intrinsic value, right? Because yes, you know, if you're alone in the desert, right, you won't do anything with gold. Gold is just a medium of exchange. Food actually is more valuable than gold, but let's not go there, okay? Okay, so Web3 for me is about the internet of value. Now, when we think about the internet, a lot of people are thinking, okay, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. but that's not it. The internet has two parts, right? So there's a net and then inter. It's a way of connecting people. It's a network, right? It's a way of interconnecting people so that they can exchange things. So we have exchange of information. We also have an exchange of value, which is what Web 3.0 is, at least the way I would define it, right? And it requires fundamentally for things to be decentralized. If it's not decentralized, then there's a central authority. If there's a central authority, it can easily be corrupted. If it can easily be corrupted, I don't know what we're doing here, okay? So when it comes to Web3 as well, for me, I think I explained it, I separated from cryptocurrencies. And again, I can go ahead and explain like in detail why, but personally, I think there's been a paradigm shift from Bitcoin and everything that tried to emulate Bitcoin and Ethereum or smart contract platforms that try to basically emulate, like you have other ones like Matic, for example, Polygon, right? Sorry, I'm pointing at you, but right? Or some other ones like Cardano. Those are what we would call smart contract platforms, right? I don't want to get too technical here, but if you want to know more, you can ask me questions or ask anyone that's qualified to answer you questions. So I would again separate those two, right? Because cryptocurrencies are supposed to be currencies. Web3, in the way I have worked, in being in the trenches, participating in hackathons and all that, right? There's an element of we're going beyond money, we're going to value. And again, there's a difference between value and money, right? You can have something that's valuable, but you cannot put a price tag on it. I mean, you could if you want, right? But it doesn't rely on the price tag you put on in order for it to have value, okay? And then we go on to self-sovereignty, which is essentially you being your own boss, which, as millennials, most of us, I think, we all want to be our own boss. Yeah, so, but it goes beyond that. There's a really good book, actually, at the end. I have like some recommended readings, which I will, just talk about really briefly. But a book called The Sovereign Individual, yeah. And it really goes in depth into what it means to be self-sovereign, and even talks about things like the metaverse. And that book was written back in the late 90s, right? Even talks about like cryptocurrencies and stuff, which is pretty wild, right? Yeah, so definitely a book I would recommend. Now, the next slide is going to explain some things, but those are use cases, right? So let's get into it. Okay, so this is a snapshot of Web3, okay? So you have a whole bunch of different things, okay? And this is even very small compared to all of the projects out there, okay? Now I'm showing this to you because I want you to have a visual representation of what we're dealing with, okay? So we have silos, for example, infrastructure, you have infrastructure projects, you have lending projects, you have derivatives, right? Like financial derivatives, you have yield aggregators, you have a whole bunch of projects that are connected to Web3, okay? Now, once you see this, you realize that Web3 is for everyone. And that's kind of what I want. That's my second message. The first message is basically telling you that we have to advocate for the user, but I'm trying to advocate for you. I'm basically telling you Web3 is for you, right? It's not just for the techies. It's not just for people who are designers. It's for everyone, okay? So in there, you will find your niche. Let's just say you are an asset manager, you can do that. Let's just say you are a lawyer, you can also use Web3 in that. Let's just say you're a chef, you know how to cook, you do things, right? Or you're a farmer. Whatever you're doing, there's a space for you, okay? So again, there's a little hump you have to get over, right? Which is a lot of the technical things, which we're all trying to work towards doing better, right? So it's not so complicated with all the tech stuff, but at the same time, you need to understand that it is for you. And if you do spend some time, you will understand, okay? Okay, now, why does it matter, okay? Because I've spoken about all of those things. I've spoken about the user centricity, the empathy, the Web3 part, all of that. But why does it matter, right? Why should you care about making the space more, first understand the space and then helping other people to understand the space and then building things that matter for the masses, for people? Well, the first thing is that Web3 right now, in my opinion, isn't very user-centric. Let me put it that way. There are a lot of things, and when we go into like the demo, you'll see. There are a lot of things that are just the user should not have to deal with. Again, my approach is a bit different from at least a conversation I can't speak. I've had with people until now. It's basically that I don't even think the term Web3 should have been popularized. You know, maybe that's unpopular, but that's me, right? I don't think it should have been popularized. Like, do people run around talking about Web2? Do you use the term? Do you talk to your friends? Oh, I'm going to use Web2 for building something. Do you say that? No, right? So yes, it is a term that has been popularized mostly by crypto Twitter and all of that. But I think we should just be talking about, okay, the decentralized web, maybe we can use those terms, right? But it's caused more confusion for people. All the people I've had conversations with, they're like, why is it Web3? Did Web 2 exist? And then you have to explain Web 2. And it's like, oh, did Web 1 exist? And then you also have to explain Web 1, right? Which honestly is causing more confusion. So talking to people, I mean, now the cat is out of the bag, so we have to use the term Web3, right? But it's not very user-centered, right? Or centric. So that's one, you know, big thing. So you need to first understand and or understand that it's not very user-centered. So when you're getting into it, you need to have this at the back of your mind. So the second thing is that it's very fast-paced. There's always something new. I asked that question because I hadn't heard about that particular, you know, EIP or the ERC, right? So for me, it's like, okay, this is an opportunity to learn. And when I go home, I'm going to read that white paper or whatever, you know, that GitHub, you know, pull request, you know. So because I need to stay on top of whatever is happening, right? So if you want to be interested, or if you want to work with anything Web3 right now, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, you have to literally be in all of, you know, the conversations to see what's going on and always be ready to learn. I really like what, sorry, your name again? Ayo. Okay, what Ayo shared, where he said that he loves the passion. You have to be passionate about this. And you also, when you're passionate, you will find people who will outdo your passion on those communities, people who are crazy, right? And it's just nice. It's a good way to make friends and also just, you know, explore, right? So it's really just about the community, right? I don't think it's beginner friendly because of that. It's not really beginner friendly. But again, don't have that in your mind, at the back of your mind, and be afraid of getting in because of that, right? So the opportunities to build future and, you know, all of the stuff that we normally say, it's high risk, high reward, obviously, right? You can put in your time and you're not going to get exactly what you wanted. But again, you will never get anything unless you actually put in your best. So at the end of the day, ask yourself, you're still young, and regardless of your age, like you're still young, right? And there's an opportunity here, and you want to ask yourself, in 10 years' time, are you going to regret not having, you know, listened to what we spoke about, right? So I would say, put yourself in like 10 years' time or even 5 years' time, and ask yourself, if I don't spend, you know, if I spend, let's just say 30 minutes a day for the next 1 month, right? Will I know more today or then than I know, you know, today? That's really that. And if the answer is yes, then just give it the 30 minutes a day. You know, use the resources and, you know, build yourself up. So, oh, I think I jumped one. Ooh. Okay. All right, so let's be a bit more practical, okay? So there are 3 examples that I will kind of outline, and those examples will just kind of take you through, because again, a lot of people haven't used Web3, kind of explain the problem that we have now. Like I would say from the user-centered design perspective or design thinking, in general what the problem is, right? So you have a wallet, right? The wallet is basically your gateway, or let's just say your connection, the way you connect to Web3, okay? It's your identity, it's where you store your assets, it's basically, all of that, right? Obviously, that wallet is not connected to your personal identity. You can have like 50 wallets, okay? So first you need to download/buy a wallet. And here actually you see like some of the wallets that are in existence. So you have mobile wallets, you have hardware wallets, smart contract wallets, and other types of wallets that are more like browser-based wallets, right? And so you need to pick one, then you need to download it or sign up. Then you need to write your seed phrase. And if you lose your seed phrase, you lose all your money and everything, right? And yeah, so you have to make sure that it's stored properly. Also, don't store it online because again, it can be stolen. Store it offline, but then offline you risk getting it burnt, or maybe your dog is going to eat it or something, right? That's also a problem. So it's not very user friendly, right? Because you have to do all those things, and you have scammers also all over the place. And again, it's pretty crazy. Okay, I'm not saying that to scare you. Okay, I'm saying that for you to understand that there's a problem when it comes to onboarding, right? So those examples are opportunities. Whenever there are problems, there are always opportunities right around the corner for the one that is bold and is able to think, right? So there's an opportunity just there. Like if somebody builds a wallet like here, it says, hey, I'm gonna build like a wallet for Africans by Africans, or even international market, it doesn't matter, right? But you want to put the needs of people first, okay? Even I've been thinking about having like a USSD wallet or based wallet, because that's also again an untapped market, right? Again, most people who build this are not in Africa. Let's face it. Most people who build this are not thinking about mobile money because it's not their reality. So if we want mobile money here in Africa and a seamless integration with wallets, we need to make that happen. Okay. So again, that's one problem. Another problem is on-ramping, right? So we use fiat. Fiat just means like, USD, Ghana cedis, anything that we normally use, right? Any currency that is legal tender that is used throughout the world, okay? So we have fiat, and then we have currencies on the blockchain. These don't mix. We need a way to exchange it. So you can go on an exchange, right? And then convert one to another, okay? Now, let's just say you want to buy, I mean, today it's a bit different, right? But let's just say you want to buy Dogecoin, right? I would not recommend you buying Dogecoin, by the way, please. But let's just say you want to buy Dogecoin, okay? Doggy coin, all right? So what you need to do is take your Ghana cedis, convert it into dollars. Now, a lot of exchanges or on-ramps will not do that. They will do that for you. You won't have to do that, okay? So what happens is that you have to put your credit card on, like, let's just say you're using any bank here. You have to use your card, and they'll deduct it in US dollars, okay? They'll send it to their own account. So there are already fees there, right? They'll send it to their own account. Then they will give you, I don't know, doggy coin. But a lot of them will not, okay? A lot of them will not. So a lot of them will give you then a stable coin, or most likely they'll give you, you can convert it into Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, right? And then from there, you then need to convert it into doggy coin, right? Now, that's a lot of work, okay? And again, it's not user-friendly, okay? Of course, there are some exchanges out there that will allow you to do that seamless, transition straight into USDC or USDT. But again, it's still like 2 hops, right? Now, let's just say we care about this, right? Then we should have an integration with mobile money, right? Now, there are some that are doing this, but again, that's where the whole regulation comes in. And, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really speak about that, but that's one of the big issues that we have. If people understand more then we can actually push for more regulatory clarity, right? In this space, in Africa, in Ghana, okay? So again, you have all of these gateways on, the right, you have all of the exchanges, and on the left, you have basically on-ramp and off-ramp, okay? So on-ramping, off-ramping is what I explained, turning your fiat into crypto and crypto into fiat, right? So that's that. Okay. Now, the last example, we're gonna do, I don't think I can do the demo here. Let me see. So I wanted us to go through a quick example where I would actually get some fake ETH and buy like a NFT like in front of you guys. So at least you know how easy it is, but you also see like the problems along the way.
And now I'll send it after the
Excuse me? Hello? Oh, okay. I think that was a mistake. Okay. I don't know if I can do that. Is there a way I could connect or,
Frank, what is the issue?
yeah, I just wanted to do like a quick demo, but
OpenSea, right?
yeah, on OpenSea. But like I've set it up on my laptop and
I mean, I could do it. I don't know, I'm exposing my wallet.
yeah, exactly. I have like a test wallet on a testnet.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I just need like a quick demo. By Bluetooth? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Frank, there's no voice if you are speaking. I just thought I'd take the opportunity to explain what we're seeing on the screen for anyone who is not familiar. So this is effectively OpenSea. It's one of the marketplaces. Well, I think it's the top marketplace in terms of NFT trading volumes. So yeah, that's what we're looking at, OpenSea. And what he's doing right now is effectively, he's clicked to engage with an NFT and he's connecting his wallet. So he mentioned about the wallet. And then you'll be asked to effectively sign. So a sign is, when you sign, it's effectively indicating an intention to transact. So this is MetaMask and he's gonna sign. Sorry, 1 second. I hope this is helpful, by the way.
Right, in the blockchain, everything is signature based, right? So the way you show, hey, I'm authorizing this or I consent to this is by signing. Okay, so okay. Yeah, so it's by signing. Okay, so what you see on the screen right now is you're doing a signature. Now this is an off-chain signature, which is a bit different from an on-chain one. But again, I don't want to get too technical here. But then what you would do is click sign. Now, obviously you're supposed to read, but I've read it before. So I'll just sign, right? And then, yeah, all right. So then I need to add funds. So it's telling me total balance is this. Again, this is fake ETH, okay? It's not real. And then I need to add funds to this, okay? I can copy this. And then I need to go and send, how much do I need to send? Only send this from the exchange. Okay, cool. So I need to send like, let me just send a bit right here. So then I need to go and paste this in, put in like 1 ETH. Next. Go all the way. And now I'm doing an on-chain transaction. Now, off-chain transactions are free, right? Or signatures. They're not really transactions, but signatures are free. The ones that are, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah. So the ones that are on-chain, you have to pay gas, right? So gas is basically, you're paying the validators or the miners for the work they're doing, okay? All right, so confirm, and then we wait a bit, hopefully. Dismiss. All right, now, oh no, I don't need to back it up right now. All right, so then I can click on this and go and check out what's happening on the blockchain, right? So one of the features of the blockchain is that everything is transparent, okay? So here I can see every single transaction that has ever happened on Ethereum, okay? Like from Genesis till now, okay? So I'm just waiting for the transaction to go through, okay? And let's wait. Sometimes you have to refresh it, but let's see. Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Let me try to refresh it. If it doesn't still giving me the same screen, I'll see if I can speed it up a little. So that, oh wait. I think it's actually through. Yeah, okay, success 1 minute ago. Okay, so, all right, so we have that. So then I go back, right? And then let me just refresh this. All right, so then I'm ready. Yeah, so then I click on this and then I'm ready to check out. So I click checkout. All right, now before I continue, so you see right here, okay, I want to show you something. So you see right here, it says creator fee 0%, right? So Shelly was actually talking about how you can get royalties. So you can get like passive income from like secondary sales, okay? This is where it happens, okay? So the percentage here is actually, can I zoom in? It's not zooming in that. Okay, so right here, it's really slow. Right here, if it's like 10%, that means every time somebody sells, you will get 10% of what they sold, okay? Or they sold it for, okay? So obviously there are also platform fees and stuff, right? But you'll get that. So hypothetically, let's just say you even put out, you know, a free mint, okay? Where you're not making anything initially, okay? There are some people who actually do that. Actually, a lot of the very popular, like for example, CryptoPunks, right? They were some of the really like OGs, and they actually, you could, you know, for pretty much free, right? Or even free if I remember correctly, right? So there are some NFTs that are free, okay? Now, when you get that, right? Let's just say you sold it for, or you gave it away, right? Like a giveaway. Let's just say later on it sells for like, I don't know, $1 million, or, you know, you actually get 10% of that. Do you understand? So it's in your best interest for you to actually build a community. It's in your best interest to actually keep giving value, because you're indirectly giving yourself value, okay? So those are the incentives, right? Now, let me go back to this and then sign the transaction. So again, this is an on-chain transaction, right? So when I click confirm, it's gonna deduct. And yeah, so everything is here. It's saying, you know, I'm purchasing that, and it's complete. All right, that was quick, okay? And I can see it, and now I can resell it. Or I can tell all my friends about it by just, you know, sharing this, okay? Is that clear? Does that make sense? Do you think you can do it yourself? Right? Because ultimately that's the thing, right? But at least you've seen the processes, right? But more importantly, you've seen the inefficiencies, because again, we are, you know, thinkers. So everything is about, okay, is there an opportunity here? If I am building my version of OpenSea, which is like an NFT marketplace, can I create things that are better, okay? But they still, you know, keep the user secure and all of those things. But can I create something? For example, can I abstract the gas away? So there's a whole thing about gas abstraction, right? Where maybe the platform is paying for gas. Don't do it on Ethereum because it's way too expensive, but you can do it on Matic or Polygon, right? Or even layer 2s, right? Which again, we can talk about that later, okay? So essentially, that's that, right? At the end.
So this is the process for buying, right?
Yeah.
What if you want to sell?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. All right, so let's just say you want to sell, right? Let me look at my screen and just do it. So now, let me just refresh that. Let me see, I just need to refresh it so that, okay, good. So you see before it was like owned by, some other thing, but now it says owned by you, right? And then apparently there's been 12 people who've been checking out this, right? I think it's all time. So let's just say I'm selling this, right? I click sell and I can sell now because it's mine, okay? Now you can't sell obviously things that don't belong to you, right? You can only sell what's yours. So here I can put whatever. Let me just be, crazy and put like 100 ETH for this, which is like 40,000. Wait, what? Okay, this is 40,000 fake Ethereum because now 100 ETH is like over 100 grand. So anyway, put it in a duration, right? So how long do I want to basically put it up for? Or I can do auction, okay? So timed auction, I can also do that. And then timed auction is going to, I can actually get bids in, okay? So let's just say I want to do like, I think they have Dutch and, do they have a Dutch auction? Yeah, right? So sell with to declining. So there's like a whole, it goes down, right? And as it goes down, people can put their bids, okay? So there are kind of different styles. So let me just keep it fixed, put 100, and then again, you see the fee here, 2.5%, and then complete listing. Again, I need to sign a transaction here. So I'm doing that. And then it's waiting for approval. And everything is on chain. So there's no third party, right? Till the end of Ethereum or to the end of time, this will always be there, okay? Now I need to then do another transaction. That's again, this is an off-chain one, but it's just basically, yeah, validating. And that's it. So it says it's been listed. So now somebody else, I mean, if you have some fake ETH on the Rinkeby testnet, you can go and buy it for 100 ETH, right? So that's it. So if you want to see so you can see the new price, right? And yeah, that's it. Is that good? Make sense? Okay, so let's go back to just the last part of the presentation. All right. Okay, so all of those things, I want to highlight smart contract interactions. That was really the point. And for you to understand how it works and also how it can be improved, right? Because just because it's like this doesn't mean this is the perfect state. We can always improve this, right? And I would say this is what makes Web3 so powerful. It doesn't settle. And that is why I separate cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin from like Web3, right? Because crypto, at least for Bitcoin, it doesn't change much. Okay, they do like little upgrades or even major ones, but things don't change. I mean, there isn't much to change about currency. If it works, don't change it. But this with like DAOs or DeFi or NFTs, it keeps changing, right? Like 5 years ago, we didn't have DeFi. Okay, 5 years ago, like DAOs were a concept, right? But they weren't mainstream. NFTs were not really mainstream, at least I would say that, right? We had like CryptoKitties and stuff, but it wasn't mainstream, right? Yeah, so that's really the power of this, right? So if you're here, you have an idea and you're like, hey, I think I can build something, or I can partner up with somebody and build something, or even improve something here, then go for it. I think that's really what it is. There's no permission. It's a permissionless system, right? Okay, so we're getting to the end. Putting it all together, okay? So the world is basically based on value. People pay you for the value you generate, okay? So, I mean, in an ideal world, okay, I'm talking about, a world where best case scenario, let me put it that way, right? Because the world is not fair, as we know, okay? But the world runs on value, and this value is locked, is untapped, is latent, okay? So Web3 is giving us an opportunity. We are giving ourselves an opportunity through Web3 to unlock potential, unlock value, unlock incentives, unlock whatever, right? From both human beings and systems, right? And assets in order for us to move forward, okay? So everything is based on value, and value needs to be transferred. I spoke about the internet of value, right? Internet, interconnection, right? Network, okay? Everyone here is part of a network, and you transmit value from one network or one node, let's just say, one person to another, or one system to another. So we all call them nodes, right? So one node to another, and that value transfer is not only monetary, okay? It's not just cryptocurrencies or currencies. It's also time, right? It's also skill, all of those things, right? And everyone here has that. So if you have skill, if you have time, if you have all those things, you can participate in this, right? And be part of the internet of value and be a node in that, right? And yeah, so this transfer process needs to put people first, right? People, communities first, and it needs to be achieved through decentralization. Very important, right? So yeah, that's essentially it. Yeah, I think I have like food for thought here. The presentation is over, but I want you guys to think about two things. So first is this, and then the last thing is basically 2 books that I would say you should probably read if you're interested in knowing more or understanding, having a high level understanding of this. So the first thing is the idea of self-sovereignty, but then versus creating systems that are empathetic, okay? So here's the issue, right? I put this thing because this was on the Eventbrite, you know, and I was like, okay, I need to put this thing in, right? How might we create a Web 3.0 that truly caters to the human need of security, esteem, and fulfillment? How might we avoid a situation where humans rebel and reject their own creation because they fear losing themselves in their own innovation, okay? Now, I'm more interested in the first part, okay? Because essentially, this is saying that at the end of the day, we have basic needs, okay? And if we create a system that basically suppresses those needs, we will then rebel against that system. It sounds very like Terminator-like, right? Yeah, so, but that's a reality, right? Earlier on, right, we're talking about the AI and how we are on the brink. I mean, it's up for discussion, right, or debate, but we're on the brink of creating sentient AI, okay? So are we then going to create something that will become better than us? Which again goes back to the original, thing that I explained in the beginning. With the Industrial Revolution first, we have created things that supersedes us in strength, in ability to do things, in speed, in accuracy. But now we are on the brink of creating things that supersedes us, maybe in thought, right? So the question here is also, in light of us creating empathetic systems, are we then going to suppress that empathetic part? Are we creating systems that will then dictate our lives, right? And in, just bring this back to our, just Web3, but in terms of just blockchain, the question is, self-sovereignty is about you being your own boss, you being your own bank, you being your own person, right? But at the same time, if you do that to the end, that means everyone is responsible for everything they do. That means there's no space for, oh, I made a mistake, right? There's no space for, oh, my dog ate my private keys. There's no space for that, right? Because essentially, well, you should have kept your dog on a leash or something, right? You shouldn't have let your, there'll always be like, oh, it's your own fault, right? So there needs to be a balance between the two. And I don't know where the balance is which is why this is food for thought, right? It's stuff for you, you know, to evaluate and think about. Okay, so again, I don't think there's an easy way to evaluate and also answer this, but I think it should be at the back of everyone's mind, right? And then those two books. So one is obviously the design of everyday things. If you've been in, you know, anything that has to do with design, I remember in school, actually, I didn't even do design in school, but we had to read this book, or part of it, because it's not visual design. A lot of the time when people talk about design, they think about visual design, but it's not visual design. Everything is design, even things that are non-visual, right? Like you have a meeting, you need to design that meeting, you need to design the experience so that somebody comes back, right? You own a restaurant, you need to design the experience. So the design of everyday things obviously talks about physical objects, right? But you need to think about design beyond visual things. And I think that's very important. And the second book is The Sovereign Individual, which I actually read this year. I had heard a lot about it, but this is a year I actually read it, which again, it's a weird book. Like it's a book where it's a very hopeful book, right? But let me not spoil it for you. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's the end of the presentation. Oh, before, oh yeah, you go. So I'll invite the boss man, yeah, to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So we will cut the questions and go right into the hands-on, so we can be out of here by on time. So those online, Matthew and Shelly will have you. We're going to split into the online session. Will go ahead with Matthew and Shelly. So you're going to continue with the program for online. They can hear me, right? Right. And then for the on-site participants, we're going to do an empathy map for Web 3.0. So Matthew, over to you for online.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Matthew.
Yes, currently the in-person participants are having a discussion on Web 3.0. So we online will also have a discussion. So this is where we open up, and then the questions that you have, you put them across for Shelly and I to address. So it's an open forum discussion where we will be addressing all the concerns based on the presentations and the talks we've received. So Shelly, over to you. I think you have quite a number of things to share with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm here to answer any questions. There were a few points that were raised that I definitely wish to echo, that this space changes every day, which is why we have a daily news show. We actually have 2 shows a day. You know, there was a point about having to first move funds to crypto and then use that crypto to buy. MasterCard have now jumped into the game, and they are allowing people to buy. You know, I bought 2 artworks this week, for example, direct in dollar. So it is moving so fast, and there is definitely a human-centric thinking because it's such a bad user experience. Businesses are now finding the opportunity by effectively delivering value, right? So when we talk about things like product market fit, I would say one of the key success factors of any business that launches is finding product market fit. And to find product market fit, you need to understand who you're serving, which is the empathy, and you need to design to literally fulfill or at least address the pain point that they are facing. Right. Hi, Esnim, I see a question. You have a question?
Yeah, I'm hoping that with my question, other people would have theirs ready. I think, Shirley, I'm interested, and this probably goes a bit away from professional into personal. I'm just interested in understanding your foray into the fintech space, the crypto space, and now Web 3.0, and what that transition has been like for you in terms of career.
Yeah, that's a great question. I just think my mindset, my personality, I'm very much an early adopter. Where people feel scared, I'm one of the people who will just go in and figure it out. one of the things I learned during consulting, never answer a question about anything unless you've actually been there and tested it, so you know exactly how it behaves. So I think, if you like to tinker as I do, you'll find yourself in some of the most exciting spaces, the spaces that haven't yet evolved, the spaces that as an early adopter you get to create, right? I don't want something served to me. Imagine going to a restaurant and you turn up and they give you the food, rather than you looking at the menu and deciding what you want and deciding, I want this, I want that. I mean, so I feel that, this is why I'm super bullish on the technology, and also why I'm really spending my time to educate people about it, to make them aware, because I don't want Africans to be the last people to pick it up when it's all safe. And when it's all safe, because people assume risk is a bad word. As a risk manager, what we learn to do is we learn to balance risk. So risk is not just threat. We also look at the opportunity you get as early adopters and how you get to shape that technology. So it's really helped my career a lot, just in terms of me wanting to learn and literally branch out and connect the different areas. I mean, fintech for me right now is not even as exciting as crypto right now, because there's so much I could do with crypto that fintech doesn't allow me to do. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions, anyone? Matthew, you're
Yeah, hello. Please, the floor is still open if you have any question.
I mean, why don't you guys tell me about your interests in this space and what your concerns are? Because the thing is, in this space, for example, when we run spaces, we get a room full of people who are just scared to speak. And I'm also part of an investment club, and we hold a weekly meeting, and people join, they stay all throughout, and they're scared to speak. And sometimes you'll get, oh, I'm new to this, and it's like, well, we are all new to this, right? So I think that rather than being scared to ask, there's nothing like a kind of irrelevant question. Every question has a place, even if it's just to confirm, verify, whatever. So feel free to just speak up and share and ask questions. That's what I'm here for. Also, if you guys were listening, what was the use case that I mentioned that was most interesting for you? Was it the sort of NFT side, the governance side, the DeFi space, or fundraising, ticketing? Which one?
Shirley, this is Barbara. I mean, for me, the bit that really caught my interest was this kind of notion of having alternative ways to raise money and alternative ways to transfer money. And all of this sort of crypto space and metaverse is all very new to me. So I think maybe one of the questions I have is for somebody who's new to the tools and technology and the thinking in this space. Where do you start?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, what would you say is your biggest interest? I mean, you talked about fundraising. So with fundraising, there's two options. Sorry, let me just turn off the beeps because I get notifications every second. So there are two options. The main options are ICOs, which are effectively the coin version of a sort of initial public offering. I think Tezos raised about $150 million with their ICO, where they issued a coin. Coin issuance is more along the ERC20 route, which means it's a fungible token. Fungible tokens are effectively interchangeable and divisible. So you can get a 0.0000 of a Bitcoin, whereas with an NFT, you don't get that, right? The second option is to effectively use an NFT, sell an NFT, and the money effectively goes to the allocated wallet. You can even divide it into multiple wallets to reward other people who are involved in the project. So when that happens, I'm trying to think of some of the most monumental projects that have done that. CryptoPunks, I won't really discuss. I mean, historically, they are probably the most relevant projects, and they're worth millions. They're minted for free. I'll talk a bit about Royal, Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is literally one of the most successful companies or projects that launched in last year. Really, it's just a year, and they're already worth, goodness knows, 4 billion or probably more, 10 billion now, I think. But they launched a 10,000 token NFT project, sold each one at $200 each. They raised about 2 million. And they were very good with their marketing. I think that's the thing. If you can build a community, they effectively started a movement. So when they came, I think there was a feeling that they were, there'd been established a sort of range of really sort of stuffy feeling NFTs, and they were the rebels, you know what I mean? They came out with this ape design, which is a bit controversial at the moment for other reasons, but it doesn't matter. And people just really love the art. And initially when they launched without the art, nobody was really that bothered. They had a reveal process. So when people bought the NFTs, they had not been revealed. When they started being revealed, people really genuinely loved the art. So people bought the art not realizing the utility that would come with it. And if you look at their roadmap, the initial roadmap was really quite unimpressive. But what they did was they attracted celebrity endorsement, great networks, writers, publishers, authors. I think they used Clubhouse to good effect. A lot of their members went on to Clubhouse. They also then did something really innovative and gave people the IP rights. So prior to Bored Ape, people were not giving the IP rights. So this opens the topic of what do you get when you get an NFT? So an NFT, contrary to popular belief, is not the actual picture. So people focus on the picture just because most people speak about NFTs in terms of artworks. What you're getting with an NFT is actually ownership of the metadata. So the metadata that is unique to your particular token. So that's really interesting. So for example, if you had a physical art piece, sorry, I'm just gonna try and switch this off. If you had a physical artwork and you created an NFT for that artwork, the person buying the NFT does not own the artwork at all. Neither do they own the NFT at all. What they own is the metadata. I mean, they own the NFT in with respect to the metadata, not necessarily the picture, if that makes sense. So back to your funding thing, once people like what you're doing and they trust you, you look like you're, a solid team. And when I say team, I think Web3 is challenging the commonly accepted view that you must dox yourself. So dox effectively means that everyone knows who your identity is, etc. I'm probably one of the few people in the Web3 space who rocks my face. Like I rock my face as a PFP. Why? Because I don't necessarily want to buy into anyone's brand. Like I like the space as a whole, but the majority of people will use a PFP. So PFP is a profile picture of a project that they like, and I think the Bored Apes are a real kind of status symbol. So a lot of people rock their Bored Apes. Another one is the Moonbirds as well. So yeah, Bored Apes managed to raise a lot of money, capital. I think the apes are currently trading at above 80,000 now, the lowest price. 80, so when I say 80, sorry, 80 ETH, which is hundreds and thousands of dollars. Another one is the Moonbirds. It launched in April 2020, this year. Within 7 days, they managed to get over 1,000% in terms of ROI. So if you bought the Moonbird at the 7,000 it was at, you literally earned like over $100,000 in 7 days, because that's how much appreciation happened in 7 days. It has since gone down, but if you think about it, when they raised, it was 2.5 ETH each. And ETH at the time was about $3,000-4,000. So basically do the maths, it's a lot of money. And then there was so much demand for it that on the secondary market, they've made so much money. It's ridiculous. Like they even are embarrassed themselves when they're talking about it. So I think as long as you have a great product, great concept, good value to the user, and a really engaged community, you can really do a lot with the NFT as a tool without having all the paperwork, the teams, the delays, that is normally associated with raising money via the VC route, for example. And I think that if I was a VC looking at you, let's just say later you wanted to scale and you wanted to work with a VC, the fact that you've been able to gain traction and you have buy-in from your customers and your communities would be an absolute win. I think that would be really good. So I hope that answers the question a bit.
Yeah, that's great, Shelly. I think
that's really helpful. Thank you.
Great. There's another question in the chat. It says, I think it's from Bernice. I'm definitely new to Web 3.0 space. How do I choose which wallet to use? So
Yes.
yeah, okay, go ahead.
Just before I address that, I did want to add one more thing to what Barbara said. So within the Web3 space, you'll hear us talking a lot about tokenomics. Tokenomics are really important because they effectively determine, as was shown earlier on the screen, how much the author gets, how much people pay in terms of platform fees and all that sort of stuff. So part of designing a really good project is having really great fundamentals in terms of the numbers and tokenomics. For example, a lot of these ERC token companies will have 20% to marketing, 20, you know, that is really important, because if, number one, your tokenomics, if your coin is inflationary, people know that they're gonna hold on to this thing that's eventually going to lose value over time because of supply. It's all about demand and supply. So it's really important to create a sense of programmable scarcity, and the scarcity around the project is what makes it more desirable and why people want to own it. So for example, a Japanese artist launched recently on Verse, Quibi, and they were like, I don't know, 200. I snapped up too quickly because I know that it's in the whole world, 7 billion people. How many people like art? I don't know if everyone loves art, but there are enough people who love art. And if I'm one of the 200 people owning this piece, I was in there, so I picked it up. Bernice, wallets. Okay. There's so many wallets. So there are different types of wallets. There are hard wallets, warm wallets. Well, hard and cold wallets are more or less the same. Warm wallets and hot wallets. The hard wallet is probably the least user friendly, but it's also the most secure. So hard wallet is basically air gapped from the internet. So it's a physical thing that looks like, I'm going to see if I can share because we actually design training as well around this space. So I'm going to see if I can quickly get access to one of the training programs just to walk you really quickly through the difference between wallets and stuff like that. Hold on one second. Wallets. Yeah, I am guilty. I should definitely have a hard wallet, but I have not bought one yet. So and I'm looking at buying one because, trust me, I have been I don't like using the word scam, but my wallet has been flashed before, and it's the worst feeling on the world in the world, because if it's gone, it's gone. There's another thing that you should know called, if it is not your keys, it is not your cheese. So there was a lot of talk earlier about what's it called? Sovereign, being sovereign. You're sovereign as long as you own your private key. If you are on a system where the platform owns your private keys, they'll give you access to it, but they own your private key, so they own your assets, right? So at the moment I use, there are some platforms that have my keys, and that is very bad. It's convenient for me, but they can at any point say, we're gonna stop access to the wallet, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's really important to own your keys. And remember, any keys that you have, anybody who owns your private key can effectively open up your wallet and take the money or add to it if they're very nice. So crypto wallets, this is what we built. It's a way of storing your assets, including tokens, currencies, and NFTs. It's basically an account, right? So a wallet can be a place to store your assets. It's also a way to identify yourself. So when I go onto like a Web3 platform, they'll know that it's me via my public key. Each wallet is secured by a private key and a seed phrase. So the private key is a sort of, it's a string of numbers usually, and the seed phrase is normally minimum 12 words that have to be presented in a certain order. And then you also have a public address. So the public address is like your sort code and account number. So people, if they want to send you money, can basically do that. So I'll give you an example here. Please don't judge me. I have a lot of wallets, by the way, because I like to keep my risk very private, very separate. So if you can see my screen, I'm going to send money from one wallet to another. So I think I sent some money earlier here. So it's just like a purse, really. It's just like an electronic purse. I'm going to move money from one account to another. I'll just switch this to USD, max it out, but I need enough to pay for gas, because remember, gas is required by the validator. So I'll just transfer enough and leave enough in there to pay for my gas. So when you go to gas, if you remember, gas is the money that the validator takes for processing your transaction. I can go here and I say, I want to outbid everyone, like whoever's currently asking to be processed, I want to be the top of the queue, so I can pay more and it gets done in 15 seconds. If I want to slow it down, tortoise, I pay less gas. So you can see the difference between 0.000483828. I'm happy to go for the standard market, so I won't use it. This indicates how busy the network is. The busier it is, the more gas you're going to pay. Sometimes the gas is absolutely horrendous. So I'm just going to transfer that. So that's slowly going to go. It's basically processing back to this wallet. So what I did was I copied the address. So this is my public key, as I said, and you can find that by going here and checking that out. So this you can share, no problem, or you can scan the QR code. The private key, never, ever, ever share it, like ever, unless you want to give your assets to someone. So that has gone through, the money's been sent and it shows it here. I can also view that then on the blockchain viewer, which in this case is Etherscan. So it just said how much I transferred. It happened 52 seconds ago. And the thing is, the blockchain is a public ledger. I can see everything. And when I say everything, I'm talking everything. Let me show you. So one thing we all have right now is the ability to buy domains. So if you haven't bought a domain, get a domain, because you're going to need it in the future. I have bought my name Shelly Inze because that is what I want to be known as later when more and more people get in. Now in my wallet, because I know people can put my name in and see what I have put nothing in here because I'm not that, I don't like to disclose everything. But you can also see, for example, what Paris Hilton is doing. I can see everything. You can see everything. There's nothing that is private anymore. So when people say it's anonymous, actually it really isn't. She's cleared her wallet. That's interesting. And let me try. Did I get that right? Because normally there's a lot of stuff in here. We can see someone else. If it's someone else, yeah, the wallet's been cleared. Wow, that's interesting. Oh no, sorry, it's delay. So slowly start loading all her assets, all the things everything literally that she's bought, sold, people have sent to her, you know, and a lot of people do this wallet watching to see what they can also get into, right? Because yeah, it can be very lucrative to get into the right projects very quickly, early. So for example, OpenSea, the project that I talked about, Moonbirds, I actually wrote an article on that. It's on Medium. It's also published in the newspapers in Ghana. I talked about the Moonbirds. So let me just find the Moonbirds. And it's one of the flagship projects because the leadership is absolutely insane. Like they're so good at leadership, great communication, very innovative. After they finished their mint and they incurred a carbon footprint, they went back and then paid for that carbon footprint, you know, because we're all trying to make a sustainable world and, you know, effectively using the blockchain because Ethereum is still on proof of work. it's changing to proof of stake, but because it's on proof of work, there is a carbon footprint. So 22 ETH is very good. I mean, it's probably, I don't know how much it is today, about $30,000, something like that. And these were bought at like 7 and they rocketed up to over 100,000. So people think, why are you paying just for a picture? Is that a question on everyone's mind? Yeah. So they launched and they went right up to 44 at the highest. So 44,000 ETH at the time. Wow. It's about $100,000. And you can see now it's about $35,000. So there is a bit of ebbing and flowing. I'll stop there in case there are any questions. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you, Shelly. And I think you've actually clarified a lot on the details. Checking to see if there's any other question in the chat.
Do we have time for a question on transfers? That was like the second part of
do it.
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
you can put the question.
Yeah.
Can I just say it rather than having to type it?
Yes, go ahead.
So it was really the comment that you made, Shirley, about being able to bypass, some of the slowness of the banking system, the expense of the banking system, that sort of thing.
Yeah, what's the question?
Well, the question is, if you're having to transfer money and, apart from using things like MoneyGram, using the bank, in this sort of crypto world or in this metaverse world, what are the facilities for doing that at a lower cost, faster? Because you were talking about being able to pay people more quickly. So if you needed to pay a supplier, fairly quickly and you wanted to reduce your overheads in doing that.
Yeah, it's definitely changed my month-end process, I could tell you that. So I pay normally, and I used to use Sendwave, so paying people on the continent. My team is basically in Africa, and when I took on this Nigerian lady, we tried everything. For days, we tried every app. I've got a lot of African networks. Guys, do you have a fintech? Try this, try that. It was just so laborious. So she said to me, I do have a crypto wallet. And I thought, wow, amazing. So she basically gave it to me and we used Binance. And I was going to see if I could even just show you some of this stuff. Just give me a second. I'm trying to log in. So this is what I just use it to make payments. So I have multiple exchanges that I use for different things. And that is because different exchanges offer different services. There's some exchanges that, they will literally offer you some crazy returns in terms of interest rates. I think one time I did a 3-day staking promotion for 150% of my ape coin in like 3 days. And it's just mad. So yeah, so she said to me I had a crypto wallet and I said, fine, send me the ID. She sent me the pay ID. I put the pay ID. I put the amount. Done. USD to USD seconds. That's it. Free. And then what she does is because Binance also has a P2P feature, so you get market makers who effectively will buy your USDC, which is your stable coin, convert it into your local currency, and that's it. And they just do that every month, and it's really great for me. No need to, Binance I do need to provide an email. I do need to provide a phone number to verify my account. They don't ask for too much in terms of, I think they do, I can't remember because it's been a while, but they definitely want to check that it's you, right? So those checks are already done anyway, and that's it. There's just not that overbearing, laborious process. And I've also, and this is my biggest fear, right? So for someone who's worked in the banking system, I don't have a criminal record, nothing. I've been deplatformed by one of the banks in the UK. And I said, what for? And because I know the rules, right? I worked in payment screening at HSBC. I've done it for Barclays Bank. We even set up a financial intelligence unit. So I would not consider myself a high risk person at all. And they deplatformed me. And it's like, well, why would you do that? At least I have a voice. What if someone who doesn't? And, the ability for a bank to do that can affect your life completely. Luckily, I have multiple banks. It's not a problem. I moved to another bank. And I feel that rather than them, because I think that they felt, because, the banks, when they have an issue with you, they raise a suspicious activity report. They're not allowed to tell you why. They don't even tell you a report's been raised against you because it's called passing off, which is illegal. But I do know what they look for. And one of the things they could look for was, a difference in activity or the amounts going through an account. But if that happens, why not do enhanced due diligence? Because their role is to understand the customer. It's not just to cut you off. Do you know what I mean? So me having gone through that, I'm like, this is a completely unfair system. And I'm just like, guys, get on there, get banked. There are a lot of people who are on banks in Africa who could just pick up a phone, load up your wallet, learn to use, transact, and just be active, Clearly, if you do it like that, because one of the reasons why a lot of people were initially reticent to get into crypto is because it was used initially by criminals or whatever. That has moved on. There'll always be criminals. There are criminals everywhere, even in the banking system. Sometimes you even get the banks being given sort of like deferment orders, etc., or just disciplinary going through disciplinary procedures because of their actions, right? So at the end of the day, of course, we want people who are going to be using it for good reasons and effectively enabling commerce and industry to come on and use it. And it takes less than an hour to register and just get active, really. And more people are now accepting crypto payments. So yeah, hope that answered your question. I see.
Thank you, Shelly. Thank you, Shelly, for that. I think, that was insightful.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
were you saying something? Okay. I think those on the on-site, they are wrapping up, and I'm not sure there's any other question. I see Bernice. I see your hand.
Come on, Bernice.
Thank you so much.
Let's
Shelly,
make it snappy.
Yeah, Shirley, I just wanted to ask, so it seems like crypto wallet is something that can be used by the mere man on the street. The reason why I'm asking that is because my husband normally sends money to his mom in Nigeria. Is it something that a pensioner could easily use, or would it frustrate them to be able to transact in that way? Please.
I think that it is teachable. I think that once you know how to use it, it's very, very easy. Initially, I just think you need to be patient. The thing with pensions, because I also have some older relatives, and it's almost like they expect the technology to understand what they want, whereas no, you need to learn how the technology works. So I think it's just you sit down with them, and if it's a matter of just sending, all they need is a wallet, like the public key. They put it in. I could just show you really simply. I know, Matthew, you're like, oh my gosh, be quick. I'll try and be as quick as I can. I was trying to log into finance, but I got distracted. So here you go, right? So as you saw, I sent money from this wallet to another. If I want to send money from the other wallet to this wallet, all I have to do, so this wallet is 941. I go to the wallet that I want to send it to. So 38. And this is an on-chain. I copy here, so it's copied it. I go where I want it. So this would be your father. I think it was your father you said. And you just do send. You paste the wallet address. You convert it to USD. If it's $10 you want to send, that is all. That is it. And it's just now going to do an online on-chain transaction. It's going to take a few seconds to do. If I want to speed it up, all I have to do is do speed up, which means I pay a bit more gas, and it will do that. And it's going to do that. So if we go back to the wallet we have sent it to, so it's not that difficult, but obviously setting up a wallet has to be done, which you can walk them through, and funding the wallet has to be done. You can fund the wallet now through USD as well. So the money's, has it come in yet? I think it's coming. Yeah. I should get it received. But I just wanted to show you really quickly something else you could do, because you can actually fund this all now via credit card. So help, where is it? Buy. You can use any of these. MoonPay is a very famous one, and you could just fund your wallet, really. That's it. We're not gonna go through a MoonPay thing, but you can now, just put how much ETH you want to buy. That's it. So you can fund the wallet this way, and then when he wants to send, he just uses the wallet address, puts the amount, and pops your uncle. That's it, really. Hope that helps.
Shelly, thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great session.
Yes, thank you, Shelly. And before we go, we'll take a quick closing remarks from Dr. Gordon. And please don't go yet. Let's just take the closing remarks, and we'll do one more thing before we go. Just a second. I'll get Dr. Gordon on. So.
Yeah, if any of you guys want to be educated, like we run training sessions every week. And it's really inspirational to me because my community manager is just 18 years old. And he's teaching people. He's so passionate about this space.
Shelly, did you put the link for these webinars, these daily webinars on the chat line?
Yeah, to be quite honest, it's just our Twitter account, and it's interactive. So, you can ask questions rather than just a one-way stream, you know what I mean? We try and make it exciting. So I'll just, yep. I think every Wednesday we do a training. Actually, it's in the Discord. We hold it in the Discord. We have a Discord community of people. And sometimes we also go on Twitter. But every day we're on Twitter, at least in the morning. If you are joining the Discord, it's very secure. We will go through a lot of steps to get past security because we want to protect our people.
Hello, I'm Dr. Gordon Adomja, one of the co-founders of Design Thinking Ghana Hub. It's quite unfortunate that I was not being able to be there in person, but I'm excited that we're able to hold our conference this year. One of the reasons why design thinking has become very popular with companies, large, small, startups, development agencies, nonprofits, and so forth, is that it's become clear that users and customers, and whatever term you want to use for them, the preferences have become a lot more complex. People want connection to services, products, programs. People want meaning out of these services, products, and programs. And for designers and problem solvers, it becomes a question of how do you get insights that will help you design these solutions? How do you do deep empathy to understand what people want, sometimes even before they know that they want it? How do you analyze and make sense of information, user experiences, connections, and interactions with stakeholders? How do you develop a point of view, ideate, prototype, and do this iteratively so that at the end of the day, you're coming up with solutions that delight people, but also engage all the relevant stakeholders that you need to engage to be able to be effective? And so the job of the designer has changed, has become more complex because you're designing beyond functionality. You're designing for emotional connection. You're designing for meaning. Now you take all of that. And you take it to this new Web3 immersive digital environment. And the same questions are there. And if anything, the job of the designer problem solver has become more complex, right? How do you understand what people think about these environments? What kind of experiences do they want to have in these immersive environments? How do they want to relate to others? How do they want to, what do they want to do with their physical self in these environments, their digital self? How do they think about assets? How do they think about ownership versus just access to the assets, and so it becomes a lot more complex. And the same questions are there for companies, large and small, for NGOs, for for development agencies, how do you get insights? How do you get data from these environments? How do you make sense of them? How do you analyze? How do you sort of ideate and so forth? And so these conversations are very timely because based on everything you've heard from our speakers about how these environments are going to be structured, it becomes very clear that the job of the designer and problem solver will become more complex. And that's why we need to start having these conversations. One of the things that we realized when we started talking about this conference was that it is very clear that we need to go back to first principles when we think about empathy and design in Web3. We need to go back to understanding how people connect to value, how people connect to utility, how people connect to experiences. Because if we can do that, then we can develop and design Web3 experiences for anybody. People with very fast devices and fast internet today, but also people without fast devices and fast internet, and even those for whom we have to build additional ways of including them because they have a touch and go experience with the internet. If we can go back to the basics, then we can start to construct value, experiences, and solutions to everybody and for everybody. So I'm glad that we've been able to start this conversation of how design thinking plays in Web3. And I hope that it doesn't end here. I hope that your interest has been kindled. I hope that you will continue to engage with us throughout the year as we take the conversation in various directions around the topic. And I want to thank our organizers for such a wonderful job in putting this conference together. It's not easy at all to be able to succeed in putting a hybrid conference together. So congratulations to you. And I also want to thank our speakers. You took time off, you showed us passion, you gave us understanding and knowledge. We thank you so much. And we're looking forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you. And yes, God bless.
Yes, so thank you, Dr. Gordon. We thank Dr. Gordon for that quick message. As he rightly said, what we have to do now is to go back to the basics and sort of try to apply design thinking in the Web3.0 space so that it will be of great value and benefit to us all. And I also want to thank Shelly for being with us right from the beginning. It's been about 3.5 hours. Yes, and we thank you all for joining. And let's keep up the conversation on the Web 3.0 space and how best we can take advantage of it, especially in our business and in what we do. Because I think Web 3.0 is the future, and the future is starting now. Thank you all. And just a quick one, if you can, let's all turn on our video so we take a screenshot or a picture. Yeah, if you can just join me, let's do that. Turn on the videos and take a picture. Good, good, good. I see people coming on. Oh, Dr. Gordon is back here with us. Yes, a few more people. Okay. Okay, thank you all for joining, and I'll make the recordings available so that you can revisit the discussions and then get more insights and apply them in whatever you do. Thank you very much, and it's been nice having you all. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.